Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the sequel to the highly popular SimRacing International GTE Championship. That's right, we are back for Season 2 of our Premier and Showcase series brought to you on the Premier SimRacing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And it's so great to be back on Friday evenings in the Grand Touring Endurance class. And once again for this season, 60 drivers will take to the grid and they'll do battle over 10 rounds of intense racing action to see who exactly is the master or mistress of the GTE machine. These machines, of course, retired from motorsport at the end of 2023, having had an expansive time on the racing grid of 24 years as of their debut of 1999. These machines may no longer be roaring around circuits, but they've never been forgotten. They're highly popular in iRacing, they're much missed around the world, and that's why we're making sure to keep them alive each and every year with our all-new GTE series that started back in 2025, but it's going strong into 2026, and long may it continue, and that's why we're here for Season 2 today to get things underway. But where exactly are we, you ask? Well, we are here in the US of A for the Sebring International Raceway, home to many a major endurance event at a domestic and an international level, including, of course, the 12 Hours of Sebring, which took place only a weekend ago in the real world, and will be taking place on iRacing using GT3 machines as well as GTPs and LMP2s this coming weekend. A circuit which is one of the oldest in the country, spanning 3.74 miles in length and consisting of a grand total of 17 corners. It is definitely a classic circuit when it comes to the corner complexes and the combination it puts together. But its main treat at the core is, of course, a tribute to its history. This circuit, the site of the former Hendricks Army Airfield in the US state of Florida, and it retains its nature of being an airfield, with the fact the final third of the circuit retains the concrete foundations of the runways. Therefore, one third of this circuit is made up of concrete slabs, and the transition between the seams will cause these cars to bump around very aggressively. The other two thirds, meanwhile, is mad on asphalt, and therefore our drivers need to get their cars set up right, not just to be quick through the bends, nor down the straights, but also have the right ride heights and the perfect suspension settings to be able to handle the bumps. Because otherwise they may have a ground effect moment, they may ground out on the concrete seams, and they may see these cars bounce around and go very sideways into cars such as Genderby Bend at turn number 1, and of course Sunset at turn number 17. Alternatively, we will see splitters come flying off if they're riding too low. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight for the opening round, round number 1 of 10 in the SimRacing International GTE Championship Season 2, and it's so good to have you. Of course, you're catching all the racing action here in the one only place you can do so on a weekly basis. That is on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search for SimRacing International SRI, and you'll be catching it in there. And if you're not subscribed already, why not subscribe today, and that way you can stay up to date with all our latest broadcasts, including our weekly broadcasts from this series. In the quarantine booth, I'm back once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Walsh, and I shall be your tour guide through this season, bringing you all the race action as it unfolds, and waxing lyrical about our GT machines as best I can. Indeed, it's so good to be back, and thank you to the SimRacing International community for giving me the opportunity to be back once again. We say hello to a good number of you in the YouTube chat, including none other than Harley Corby, and also there John Sherwin, and I hope you guys are doing well. But as everybody gets ready to rock and roll and go racing, we need to bring you up to speed with all the proceedings, the ins and outs, the rule changes and everything between. So let's get to it, shall we, ladies and gentlemen, because we haven't got long, and our drivers are in the midst of qualifying right now. So first off, at the core of every championship, we have a calendar. And our calendar, well, we've decided to stick to what we did in Season 1, which is for the iRacing official GTE Sprint Series. However, there is a slight twist with the way we're doing it for this season. Last season, we matched it week for week, whereby if the GTE Series was racing at Sebring on a given week, we would be racing there as well. Instead, what we're doing for this season is we are delaying our schedule by a week. So therefore, we are a week behind. And therefore, the racing was at Sebring in the official series last week, but we are racing it now today, and you can imagine that's going to continue all the way through. Now, why exactly are we doing that for this season? Well, it gives our drivers plenty more opportunity to practice for each and every round. They can use a full week of officials to get themselves up to speed with a given circuit, and then they can go racing that circuit a week later. And that's why we start at Sebring today rather than Imola. But what a calendar we do have. And to be fair, we've got to give a lot of credit to the official community that put these schedules together, because they're some of the best out there on the iRacing platform. I'm sure many of you will agree. We begin today then, it's the 27th of March 2026, and we are here at the Sebring International Raceway. Then we'll be making our way to Imola in Italy on the 3rd of April for round number 2. Indeed, the classic Italian circuit, then being followed up by an Australian classic, arguably one of the best street circuits in the world, although an unconventional one, because in round number 3 we'll be taking on Mount Panorama circuit, but you know and love it and refer to it typically as Bathurst. Then in round number 4 we'll head to VIR, the Lazarus of American motorsport, the circuit that has never quite died. It's always been revived from the ashes, no matter how bad the administration competition has got. And the full course they'll be playing host on the 17th of April, and then we'll wrap up the first half of the season at the Daytona International Speedway, which is a traditional road course, the home of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, and that'll be on the 24th of April. On the 1st of May, we roar away into the 5th month of the year with Spa-Francorchamps, indeed a Belgian classic, before we then make our way back to US for the Watkins Glen International Circuit in round number 7. In round number 8, we head to Interlagos in Brazil, indeed one of the big homes and the big cornerstones of the FIA World Endurance Championship, which these cars raced in 2021 and 2022 and 2023. And then we'll be making our way back to the US for the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, the roller coaster ride of road racing there. And then for our season finale, we will be in Mexico City at its Grand Prix circuit for round 10 of 10 on the 29th of May. So, with us following the officials, we'll be a week behind. What else is new here? Well, those of you who are eagle-eyed, you'll notice the fact we have 3 endurance rounds this season. We typically have 60-minute races, of which today's season opener is a 60-minute feature race. However, rounds 2, 6 and 10 are 90-minute races. They are 1.5 hours long. An extra 30 minutes adds a bit more strategic variety to the racing, and therefore our drivers need to be eagle-eyed with regards to their strategies and being able to conserve their tyres and manage their fuel loads. Also added to this, we will be following the weather conditions of the iRacing officials, whereby if there are mixed conditions, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that very shortly because that's going to be your gobsmack to many of you. If there are mixed conditions, if there's the risk of rain, when we do go racing in the officials at one of these circuits, we will be replicating that here at SimRacing International with timelined weather, and we have promised up to 4 mixed conditions weather rounds, if my memory serves me correctly. Although they've not been indicated on the calendar here, we'll keep you guessing for them for now. We can tell you one thing, sunny skies stay at Sebring, but you never know what could come at Imola in a week's time. And with that, well, let's come on to our cars, of course. Now, these cars should be no stranger to many of you if you're a GTE fan. Indeed, 5 of the classic GTE machines, not all 6 are the ones that conclude the GTE era. Indeed, unfortunately, in iRacing, we do not have the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GTE. It's not available, but we do have these 5, the Ford GTE, the BMW M8, the Giga Grill machine from Germany. We also do have the classic 9,000 RPM Screamer of the Porsche 911 RSR. We of course have the Italian stable horse, the Ferrari 488 GTE Evo. And lastly, we have the car that definitely dominated in the GT category for the final couple of years of racing, the Chevrolet Corvette C8R GTE Stingray. And all 5 of these cars, well, they are the same cars that you saw last season. So why exactly are we talking about them? Well, do keep in mind, in Season 2 of the 2026 iRacing season, we have seen a major update to this category. We have seen all 5 cars and the whole class go for a major physics overhaul and a tyre overhaul as well. So the whole tyre model has been brought up to the modern spec on iRacing, when it's a bit close to the GT3 machines with regards to the way the tyres need to be managed. However, the grip levels of these tyres now have been substantially altered, and we'll also see these cars do now have wet weather tyres as well. And that's why we can have mixed conditions rounds, and you will be seeing some rain over the course of this season. And our drivers will need to be ready to take it on as best as they can. So it's going to be exciting to see how all of the drivers adapt to these cars. But also, there's been a brand new balance of performance added to these cars. So therefore, what were the key cars at the very front, the Corvette and the Porsche 911, they may not be the kings anymore, and therefore it's going to be a whole new playing field for our drivers as they select their 5 machines. Of course, they do have a car swap available to them over the course of the season should they think they picked the wrong car, or they decide to split the season into 2 with regards to their car choice, but it's going to feel as though it's a major reset. And at the other end of the spectrum, of course, the Corvette and the Porsche may not be the popular cars anymore, although I think the Porsche is always going to be popular given its screaming nature. We can understand the Ford GT, the BMW M8 and the Ferrari 488 may have wider operating windows now and may be a little bit more popular with our drivers. But of course, if we've got cars, what's up for grabs for this season? Well, prize-wise, we have 35 personalised driver trophies to be won. We have 3 driver classes for this season. Now, there is a slight change to the classes in name only. You may remember in Season 1 we had Elite, we also had Pro, and we had our Interclass. They are going to continue to exist, but Elite is now known as Pro. Meanwhile, what was the Pro class previously is now known as the Interclass, and what was previously known as the Evo class is now known, well, in fact, what was previously known as the Interclass is now known as the Evo class there. So just get your head around that. You can imagine, simply put, Pro is the top echelon of the grid. In the middle are your Inter drives because they are between the very best and also those looking to improve or evolve. And that's why we refer to the Evo class as our bottom tier of class. Indeed, they're all drives are looking to improve and build their way up and go through that interchangeable period as they make their way towards becoming Pro. And that's why we changed the names there. But otherwise, we see there are trophies up for grabs. So the top 7 in the Pro class, the the top 7 in the Interclass, and also the top 6 in the Evo class in the Drivers' Championships. And we also do have up for grabs teams championship prizes there, and it'll be all the drivers in the top 5 teams. So 4 trophies up for grabs for each team, because indeed each team can consist of, in fact, let me correct myself, 3 trophies up for grabs for each team, as each team can consist of up to 3 drivers there. They don't have to, they can be 2 drivers, they can even be 1, but whoever our top 5 teams are at the end of the season, their 3 or less drivers will be receiving championship trophies. And that's what's on the line for our drivers here. It's not monetary, but indeed it's memory and also a brilliant piece of silverware which you can put up on the mantelpiece. These SRI trophies, of course, very popular across all of our series. But if we've got a calendar, if we've got our cars, and we've got prizes up for grabs, well, there's just one thing we need: 60 drivers. And who exactly are they? Well, let's begin to introduce them. We start with the top class, the 22 pro drivers here. Many of them you will remember, including our reigning champion in the equivalent elite class, and therefore he's the defending champion of the pros this season, Mirko Bortolotti. Yes, the man from racing GT3s in real life. I want to tell you one thing, he's back once again for the Gazix racing team and looking to defend his ground. We also do have their newcomer to the grid, Philip Ansel for Coupe de Motorsport, and we look forward to seeing what the Smiling Swede can do. Tom Bland, he joins the ranks of Altitude Frame Esports. The story behind that: Ryan Walker unfortunately will not be on the grid for this season because he could not commit to the full season due to personal circumstances and clashes. So therefore Tom has jumped into the space of Ryan Walker, and well, he's going to be buffeting the team there alongside Mark Hutchinson and also Tim Perry. And you'll see Tim Perry a bit further down the left hand side there. He'll be back on the grid for Altitude 3M Esports, and well, it'll be exciting to see how they all get on with Mark Hutchinson also there, albeit the 3 drivers there expecting that Tom Bland is definitely going to be the driver at the forefront of their effort, with Tim Perry perhaps having not as much time this season to focus on the GT, and Mark Hutchinson once again trying to push his way up the field as quick as he can. And we look forward to seeing what they're going to all be able to do, and we are expecting that Tom Bland is going to be towards the front of the GTE Pro category. And that's their story there. We also have from We Pay 300 Esports, new to the grid, and we welcome Wilson Liu. We also have their Coupe de Motorsports Isaac Fairweather. Christophe Dubois makes his way onto the grid for live sim racing. We also do have SRB Motorsports Taurus Vosberg, and then we also do have their Lithuanian driver from SRB Motorsport by Lind Vega of Aramas Zilinskas, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do. Renee Maurer and also Chad Henson complete left-hand side there. Henson returning once again for Turbo Rensport this time out, and we do say a big welcome there to Renee Maurer for Leopard Esports. Then to the right-hand side, Pedro Luis da Silva, he's back once again, joined in the company of Joris Peters Veem, the Dutchman who had all the difficulties in Season 1, where he's going to be very eagerly back on the grid, looking to have a much happier season. Davidas Lominonis, he'll be there as well in the Pro class, a newcomer to the grid, and Benjamin Massey's back once more, promoted to the Pro class, and what was the middle tier last time out, the defending champion of that class, but he won't be doing a title defence this season because he's going to be battling with the very best for Inox Motorsport. We also do welcome Kai Hitchler and Max Chambers. Marinko Jornowski's back once again for the Gazix racing team, as is Christian Ablasser, and we also must welcome there the Italian from Team Eurotech, Endurotech I should say, that's Rian Cassidy, and we also do see the return of Max Wheeler, and you're going to see him in, we believe, what is an Audi. Well, that's a bit of a strange choice. You can't have an Audi in the GT class. You'll see why very shortly when we do head to qualifying. In the Interclass, we have 20 drivers, and many of them returnees, including Quan Lee 2 for We Pay 300 Esports and Matthias Pettinger for Inox Motorsport. We also have Justin Earl back, but we also have some newcomers in the form of Vidas Odres Kezisius and the SRB Motorsport driver back once again. We're looking to go for gold in another one of our series, but he makes his debut in the GTE series. Victor Shimaro is also joining the grid this time out, as is David Payne for Coupe de Academy. And we also do have Sebastian Schwerdfeger, who unfortunately I don't think can be on the grid today due to personal circumstances, but we look forward to seeing him on the grid in the near future. We have Jordan Shamblin, he's back once again, joined by Oliver Kemp for DSD Motorsports. They're going to put a 2-driver effort together in the Interclass, and we also do have there Mark Cavelsbear ahead of none other than Robin Noel Brown. We also have Mikhail Abasek returning, and we also do have newcomer there Patrick Dame. Also returning Flavian Tieffrey, Kevin Smith and John Ludbrook, and we also do have the newcomers there of Clyde Vella ahead of Sammy Alex and Olivier Granier, at least in this table, but will they be ahead of each other on the road? We'll wait and see. As for Evo drivers, the bottom of our classes, but to be fair, no by means bottom in terms of competitive spirit, we do have an entry from Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, or Full Tilt V Motorsport as they're also known. Mark Kent and Nathan Healy both on the grid for this season. We look forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do, with Bruno Key returning once again, looking to go for gold this time out for Repay 300 Esports. John Becker joins the grid from Valiant Racing Team ahead of Andrew Fellows down the left-hand side, with Dwayne Hoffman also part of the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport team, and welcoming him to the grid. And indeed, they're going to be a very interesting trio out there in the Evo class. Brian Beardsworth, he's back once more for GPX Sport Onyx, as is Craig Tillotson, and we have the newcomer there, and that is none other than, I do believe, Ivan Hopka, and we welcome him to the grid. Jaden Innes starts off on the right-hand side of your table there. He's new to the grid for Coupe de Motorsport, as is Gianluca Rospo, and I do apologise I'm butchering any of these names. I've done my best to research how to pronounce them before today, but I'm sure my drivers, or our competitors, I should say, will tell me when I've got it wrong. We also have Matthew and Massey new to the grid there for Spectre Race, and we welcome him. We also do have Gareth Newton returning there, as we do James Bostock, the administrator for SimRacing International. We look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do and whether he has some better luck this season. And we also do welcome Marcus Clayton to the Verano Esport with Edge Overlays team. Max Dean's new to the grid as well. And we also do have then none other than Michelle Salcuni, and the Italian driver for Verano Esport will buffer their ranks. And Gavin Corby will be a privateer new to the grid. So that's your 60 drivers there in a quick summary. And then we do take a look, of course, to the rules. Now, has anything changed here? We're not going to go through all of this because you could read this to the end of time and we would get quite bored of reading it. Has anything changed? The answer is no. So quick summary is we have 45-minute qualifying sessions. Of course, we always come into approximately 15 minutes to go in the broadcast. And then we do have either a 60-minute or alternatively a 90-minute race, depending on whether it's a feature race round or an endurance race round. You are looking at a 60-minute round today. It's a feature. How we do have a 5-minute break between qualifying and the race, and that is a 5-minute comfort break for our drivers, and it gives us all a bit of a breather before we do go green flag racing. There's one free car change, and there's a set number of instant points of 18 for a drive-through penalty and 26 for a race disqualification. And meanwhile, car fuel loads are restricted to 80% in all races, with there being one fast repair available in the pits if required. Now, I do believe that's everything. There's also a drop score between rounds 1 to 9. The final round is undroppable, but that's the rules and regulations. And as for our host circuit for today, of course, it is the international layout of Sebring International Raceway, located near the town of which it sits in the Highlands County of the US state of Florida. 3.74 miles in length or 6.01 kilometers, depending on your preference of units, but what never changes, of course, is the number of corners. 17 of them, and a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely superb track maps that come with it. But rather than talk you through the track map, ladies and gentlemen, we all know Sebring for the most part. Let's make our way back to the circuit and see how they're all getting on in the final throws of this qualifying session with 15 minutes to go. And as our drivers roar the way around right now, the quickest one out there at this time. Ooh, goodness me, that's not the way you want to come back to all the racing there. And, well, I think there's a driver in the barrier there who quickly towed to the pit lane. And Philip Ansell, currently the fastest, who we're looking at. We had to be very quick with his cat-like reactions there to avoid going into the back of a stricken Porsche. But it does seem as though we've got plenty of Porsche 911 RSRs on the grid here today. Seems to be the very popular car. But is it the Meta car, currently based on the balance of points in GT with the shift? Well, not necessarily, to be fair. It's a very comfortable car to drive, given the fact it is one of those cars that's very stable on the rear end, and most, when they do join the GT category, or have done over the last 2 to 3 years, they've initially bought the Porsche 911, and also it is a very popular car in real life because of what is the 9,000 RPM screamer of an engine, which proved popular to the dying days of GTE. But Philip Ansell, on his debut, is looking to be the quickest out there at the moment, with Isaac Fairweather not too far behind, 1.5 tenths off, but the two teammates definitely looking to be going for pole position here, and looking out the front row as he gets a bit tight there with the 116 car making its way through, and that's going to be none other than, I do believe, We Pay 300's Bruno Key, and the two of them having a bit of an exchange there. But those are your top two currently in your top class, that being the pros and overall. And Wilson Liu, to be fair, doing a brilliant job there in his own Porsche in the 388, and as he winds his way around, he's currently third fastest, only half a tenth off of the top two. These have got a temp to Tom Bland, meanwhile, the newcomer to the Altitude 3M Esports Group, at least on the grid here, although I do believe he's been a member of the team for a long time, and I can see a few of you cheering him on out there, as we do say hello to a few more of you, and we will give you a shout out in the YouTube chat very shortly. So that's how the front of the field looks with regards to our pros. Meanwhile, who's the highest placed into driver? Well, it's none other than Mark Calsbert as he makes his way on through, and as he does so, the 225 driver here right now slightly ahead of the rest of the interfield. He's a length overall, but we should point out for the uninitiated, how do drivers score points in this series? They score it based on class finishing position. Overall position does not matter, so you could be, for all intents and purposes, an Evo driver who takes victory overall. It will be huge bragging rights for you, understandably, but you don't gain any extra points in the championship. It would still be the same as if you picked up the class wins. Therefore, it is all about gauging who is your rival in the class and making sure you battle them first and foremost and beat them. Beating everybody else in other classes is entirely optional. But Mark Calsbert is currently the fastest driver out there in the INS class currently in the 225 Porsche, and well, he's got a gap to join Shamblin of the best part of what is approximately 3 tenths. Shamblin currently parked up in the pit lane, the Dynasty Motorsports driver, and I do believe he's got quite a fan group, and if they are tuning in right now, hello to all you guys and girls who are tuning on this man, and of course his teammates at Dynasty Motorsports, and he says 2 of them for this season. Albeit in third currently in the interclass, we do have Viadas Andreas Kavicius, and as he makes his way on through, I think I'm butchering his surname a little bit there, we'll try and fix that later on. Well, he's not too far for Shamblin, but the problem he's got is he's only 15 thousandths faster than David Payne. With Flavien Tieffre not too far adrift, here's David Payne right now, newcomer to the grid, and looking very good at the moment. And Flavien Tieffre definitely had a great debut season in Season 1, made his way all the way from what was the interclass into the pro class after a few races, and in the pro class everything seems to go backwards at that point onwards, but I think it was bad luck that continued to strike him as he's just towed to the pits. And we do see the returnee of Mikael Abasek here for Inox Motorsports, the driver who said that he wasn't going to be on the grid, and then he surprised me by dropping me a message earlier on about a week ago to say, actually, I am going to be on the grid. I can tell you one thing, I was like a kid in the candy store when I heard the entirety of Inox Motorsport is back on the grid once again. The trio who delivered that team's championship last season, they're back once more, which is absolutely brilliant. And as for what's going on currently in the Evo class, where it's Brian Beardsworth who's currently the fastest, and you can see him parked up there in the GPX SimSport car behind the livery car that he was in last season, I do believe, when he was running the Golf Porsche colours. But here today he's running the GPX SimSport livery and the blue machine there. Currently your provisional pole sitter of the class with Mark Kent. Currently second fastest, albeit he's not a Porsche. Indeed, with every car we looked at so far has probably been a Porsche, but he's in the BMW M8, and he's currently the second fastest in this Evo category at this time, and he's only off a Beardsworth by the best part of 3 tenths there, if that. So he's looking quite good. Is your full tilt motorsport driver, and he has got Nathan Healy not too far off him either. But the two teammates definitely looking good, and I'll tell you one thing, they're looking good in terms of lap times, and they're looking lovely in terms of those liveries. I'm not allowed to have favourites, and we're not giving out awards for the best livery out there, but those full tilt motorsport liveries, I mean, I've spoken to the team a few times in other series that I've seen them racing, and they've always asked me what I thought of the liveries, and I'll tell you one thing, guys, if your livery designer's listening, they've got it right on this BMW, because that is looking absolutely menacing for the right reasons, and we look forward to seeing whether they're going to be able to spring some surprises. And as he heads on through, well, Nathan Healy right now off of his teammate again is only, what is it, 300s, and John Becker meanwhile is not too far behind them. He's only a further, what is it, 2.500s, and the 121 driver right now definitely trying to give them a 101 of how it's done in qualifying. But as he makes his way on through, we say hello to a few of you more in the YouTube chat. Of course, we've seen that Harley Corby is looking very much forward to this, and we're very happy to have you tuning in, good sir. We also do say hello once again to John Sherwin there, who says, my hero Tom Bland is racing in this. Where is Tom at the moment? Well, he's currently out on circuit. There he is, running in 4th overall and in the pro class. As he does so, we do look to other drivers as well, including none other than the form of newcomer to the grid of Kai Hitchler. And well, we do see the Austrian driver making his way around right now in a very notable yellow BMW there. Yellow always goes good on a car with some black, and he's absolutely nailed that for Liper Esports, no doubt about it. As he goes on to a flying lap, we're getting on board very shortly, as we also do say hello there to Izzy Pop. And well, it's good to be back. Thank you, Izzy. I'm glad to see you tuning in, cheering on the Altitude Esports team. And we also do say hello to King Pieface there. So I remember being a child and seeing Tom Bland for the first time. I knew he'd become my idol. Absolutely loving that. We also say hello to Ollie 3220 Gray, who says hello Harley. So saying hello to Harley Corby there by things. We also do say in real life flyer 7870 says big love from Coop to Motorsport, and big love to you guys as well, all tuning in, supporting that team. Coop to Motorsport on the moment, well, they're not doing it too bad, it would seem. As with to Christophe Dubois in the Corvette C8R as he heads on through, currently the 7th fastest overall and in the pro category. I think we've caught everyone there. We say hello to the official Verano Esports account, who's cheering on the Verano Esports guys, of course. And we do say hello to Kitty's Mad there, long-time fan of Verano Esports. And also we say hello to John Stapley, who's cheering on Matt Massey and also the Full Tilt Boys. So and also we say hello there to Daryl R1W. How can we forget you? Cheering on Jordan Shamblin. So we've caught up with all of you so far. And if you are there right now tuning in and you do have access to the chat, don't be shy. Feel free to say hi. If you're nervous, I get it. The internet is a bit of a dangerous place. But to be fair, we're all here, joined in the common theme of enjoying some absolutely brilliant racing. We'd love to hear from you. So therefore, don't be shy. And don't worry about anybody biting. The only biting you will see will be brakes when, of course, drivers don't get it right under braking. And, of course, they lock up those brakes because they don't have any ABS on these cars. One of the distinctive features and the reason why the GT category was retired, intriguingly, in 2023 was because of the fact the lack of anti-lock braking system, or ABS, was seen as making these cars a bit inaccessible to gentlemen racers, not necessarily all men, but also women racers who may not have come up from grassroots motorsport, but may be looking to perhaps buy their way into motorsport. Indeed, it's always a theme, of course. There's the running joke of LMP3 drivers being dentists because that's their background before they went into motorsport, was essentially being dentists, which is one of the highest paid professions, at least in the the United States, if not around the world. But there are whole different scopes from which drivers can come into motorsport. Indeed, Michael Fassbender, if anybody did catch what was the 2023 24 Hours Le Mans, many of you may remember he was racing that in a Porsche 911 RSR until it all went wrong at Corvette curve and he ended up in the barrier. And I can tell you that because I was on the banking at the Porsche curves just before it when it happened back then. But still, enough about me. One thing we haven't done yet with 7 minutes to go is bringing an onboard lap from one of our drivers. So let's get to it. Who exactly will we jump on board with for the purposes of this flying lap? Well, Tim Perry's going to take us around, ladies and gentlemen, and here he goes for a flying lap in his Porsche 911 RSR of the Sebring International Raceway. So into Genderby and Bend he goes, chucking the car from 6th to 5th as he clicks the apex there, 114 miles an hour. Now flat out all the way out towards turn number 3. Here it's about commitment as he gets ready to go onto the brakes and braking about 130 meters a corner apex, trail braking down to second gear. From left into right he goes, turns 3, 4 and then into 5. Here it's all about the late apex as he chops off as much of the core as he can. Now going on towards Big Bend. It's a bit of breather at this point as he can just build up the throttle nicely, and in fact it does look as though Perry perhaps backing off here a little bit. I think he's cooling the car down, so Perry's not happy with the lap he's done. So we're going to abort that onboard lap there as he just simply takes his step on the throttle. And well, can we pick up the lap from somebody else? Well, there's only one driver we can technically pick up the lap from as he makes his way onto it. And he's not in the Ferrari for this season, at least not for now. He's making his way out there in a Corvette. It's Mirko Bortolotti, your defending champion, as he jumps up to 9th. And here he goes for another lap to see if he can go even higher. So through Genderby and he goes, close to all there, 116 miles an hour at the apex there as our dashboard had to keep up with him. And coming in towards turn number 3. All the way down to the second gear there, takes a bit of curve, bouncing around on those curves, clattering over turn number 4 and in towards turn number 5 at this point. Now just missing the apex curve there at 5, that's critical as it will send you wide, it will cause you to understeer. But him through Big Bend now, he's full throttle every step away. This is going to be an attack lap as he gets ready to go in towards turn number 7. Looks to his left hand side for his brake marker, it'll be the cones and he'll break 150 meters from corner apex all the way down to first gear. 55 miles an hour at the apex as he now clears it, going all the way through the kinks and through Fangio. Through the right into left here, named after of course the infamous Formula 1 driver and at one point the record holder for Formula 1 titles until Michael Schumacher came along. Well, right now Mirko Bortolotti comes along to a Cunningham Bend at turn number 10 as he does so down to second gear. Through the right and in towards the left he goes, and at this point swinging on through, coming through Collier Bend flat out here with some cars in front of him. That's definitely going to act as a little bit of a slipstream magnet, and breaking into Tower Bend here, breaking through turn 12 into 13. Second gear all the way through, lovely line there as the car in front steps aside. That's going to be one of the We Pay 300 esports cars, and Bortolotti has clear road in front of him now as he heads through Bishop. He's not playing chess here, he's getting ready to play the game of hitting the brakes. He breaks his way into turn 15 all the way down from 5th to 3rd, and from the right into left before he gets ready for Le Mans Bend, cuts as much as possible, mounts the curb aggressively there. That caused the car to bottom out, that's why it shook around left to right, but Bortolotti gets it back under control, clears Le Mans with aplomb, and now makes his way down the Allman Straight. And as he does so, only one corner between him and a very good lap. It's Sunset Bend of course, but he'll look to his left, it's his turning point, those cone markers. He'll turn in at the one cone, as he does so now onto the brakes here, dropping down the gearbox into 3rd gear, apex speed there of which 82 miles an hour, and as he exits out, it's full throttle all the way to line. But Bortolotti comes into the pit lane there, he's not happy with the lap, and well, the best he's going to achieve is 9th place. In fact, by cutting the pit lane entry, he has invalidated that, and I do believe he may even pick up a black flag there for his trip across the pit entry line. So Bortolotti not happy at the end of the lap, and well, I'm shocked at that because it was looking quite good, but I wonder if he's perhaps a little bit upset with what happened going through turn number 15. And interesting, he's gone to the Corvette, the car of course he started season 1 in, but he switched to the Ferrari midway through the season, where he's gone back to grassroots, and I wonder if he feels comfortable in that car. But meanwhile, on any big surprises out there at the moment, we do have 51 drivers in attendance today, we should point out, currently right at the back of the field. But to be fair, just because he's at the back doesn't mean he's not going to be out of the hunt for some big points today. It's Gavin Corby, he's currently a 51st out of 51 drivers who are qualified, and on top of that, he's 16th of your drivers in the Evo class. But currently, he's the best part of 1.5 seconds of a Craig Tillerton's time. But do remember, we have seen several drivers, particularly last season, who started very far off the pace. Craig Tillerton was actually a really good example of this, whereby he was towards the back end of what was the equivalent class, the Evo, of the Interclass back then. But as time went on over the course of the season, he got quicker and quicker. He even chased down his first podium midway through the season, and he was a regular top 5 finisher towards the very end of it. And it was not because of attrition in the Interclass, now known as the Evo class. We had a very healthy and very closely contested Interclass all the way through the season. Now, in terms of your defending champions to watch out for, are they all here? Of course, we have introduced Mirko Bortolotti as your defending pro champion. What about in the other classes? Well, the Inter champion from was the previous season, or now at the Evo class. It is none other than John Ludbrook, albeit John Ludbrook has been promoted. Here he is, and he is now racing in what is known as the Interclass in this modern parlance, the replacement for the Pro class. So therefore, he cannot defend his previous title. He resets and he goes once again. He's currently in 32nd or 12th in the Inter category, as I stumble over thinking of the class names there. And meanwhile, who was your champion in the Interclass? Well, he was your champion in the Interclass last season. Who was your Pro Class champion last season is what I mean to say. It was none other than Benjamin Massey, who has now moved up into the formal Pro Class, the replacement for Elite. So therefore it does mean the only defending champion drivers-wise, as that's a lot of oversteer there from John Ludbrook going through turn number 5, is Mirko Bortolotti. And meanwhile, in the Teams Championship, Inox Motorsport are back to defend their crown, and they'll be looking to try and hold off, given the fact they had a very close battle in the championship season last season with Gazex Racing MCM all the way from start to finish. Indeed, it was very tight, and we're looking forward to seeing how far it's going to go. Now, one note as well, in the fact last season, Mirko Bortolotti took every win in a race that he raced in. Tim Perry came close to dethroning him from one at Suzuka with that incredible battle between the two of them in Japan, but in the end, Perry was not able to do it. But can he do so this season? He's currently 5th fastest. Bortolotti is down in 9th place, so therefore he could be seeing a miracle. Then again, we've got 60 minutes of racing to come, and that could really be a very different story compared to a single qualifying lap. Some of the other big stories of the previous season, of course, was that in the now Interclass, well, Benjamin Massey might have taken the title last season, but he was the most consistent versus his rivals Rene Russler and also Angel Adonis and Matthias Pettinger. But Gnosis Esports' Adonis was a real weapon out there all the way through the season, but unfortunately not back for this season. We're definitely missing him because he definitely had a championship campaign that was riddled with inconsistency and technical issues. Meanwhile, in the now Evo class, previously the Interclass, John Ludbrook may have been the champion, but Bruno Key was his main rival for consistency, and that's why we would dub Bruno Key as one of the favourites in the category for this season, but not when he's down in 14th for the class and 49th overall. But again, his strength wasn't qualifying, his strength was race pace and consistency throughout. Wait, 15 seconds left on the clock in this qualifying session. Well, the drivers do not have too long now to try and get things together, so therefore they're going to get the job done soon, because if they don't, well, they're going to try and make it up in the race. Indeed, we will have overtime here, so it's not as though our drivers are immediately teleported back to the pit lane when the clock strikes 0, as we do see Vidas and Jurskavicius making his way on through, and as he does so, well, he's currently personal best in the first half of the lap. His middle sector, meanwhile, from the second half onwards, has not been as strong as his previous best. He's the 4th fastest here in the Interclass. So what's he going to be able to do as he heads towards the line? The answer is going to be straight lines. He thinks he's on for a good lap, and as he crosses that line, he is going to move up to 15th there, 2nd in class. A good effort from the 293 driver of 55.519, so he'll be happy with that. He'll get ahead of Flavien Tiefri, and also none other than John Shamblin. I think he'll feel as though he's got the job done there, because the only driver who's out there at the moment in that group who's going the pole sitter in the Interclass, he's going to stay on pole by looks of things, is Mark Carlsbert as he crosses the timing line. Meanwhile, as Max Chambers makes his way down, I think that's a cool down lap there for Chambers, although don't quote me on it, he may actually be on a valid lap here. So heading onwards, and from him we do look to what is further down the order of John Becker. He's also on a final lap going for Bishop at the moment. We do have Ariane Cassidy and also Tim Perry making the way on around. And as we do see the 333 drive from Italy coming through Sunset Bend, what's it going to be here to wrap things up? Is it going to be a strong lap? Is it not? The answer is going to be, well, he's had some improvements and not quite fully improving over the course of the lap. He was 11th and he moves to 8th. A good effort in the end of 55.096. It was in the balance. Tom Bland cross line. He does not improve. And Philip Ansel, the pole sitter, comes into the pit lane. He does not improve out there, so I think he feels as though job is done. Max Chambers comes to the line, but I believe this on out lap, so it's not going to be a lap that qualifies him any higher. John Becker then will be the last trying to put a lap together in qualifying. He was 40th, 5th in the Evo class, and that's exactly where he's going to stay. He does not find any more time out there, but indeed, just like that, 45 minutes of qualifying has been complete, and well, with that, Brian Beardsworth takes the Evo pole position with 35th overall. Brilliant effort from him, and well, he'll be absolutely ecstatic about that because he was chasing the top 3 throughout the season towards the end of season 1, but to be on pole for the start of this season, we'll feel as though he's got a job done nice and early. There'll be Mark Carlsbert in 12th there, what will be your pole sitter in the Interclass, and then we do have none other than Philip Ansel, your pole sitter overall, and on his debut, taking that pole position in the Pro. So an exciting qualifying session, and now drivers get an opportunity to cool down for a little bit, make sure they've got the right setup on the car. We've got a 5-minute warm-up coming up, ladies and gentlemen, before we do go to the grid for 60 minutes of racing action here at the Sebring International Raceway. As that gives us an opportunity to take a sip of water. This is, of course, a great opportunity for you guys and girls tuning in. If you have not got yourself liquid refreshment for the excitement that's to come, if you haven't got yourself some popcorn or a snack of your choosing, indeed, I would personally recommend a nice warm cup of tea and also perhaps a packet of crisps or a McVitie's Digestive. And we're saying that brand out there. McVitie's, if you are listening right now, you're very welcome to sponsor the SimRacing International Series. Joking aside, make sure you go grab yourself a drink and go grab yourself a snack or two right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you need to take that toilet break, go get it done. You have got 5 minutes before we do make our way to the grid for the formation lap, and indeed after that you won't want to step away because it's going to be very exciting with the fact we're going to have 51 cars here at Sebring today, all looking to try and set benchmarks in this season opener. Plenty of points on the line and plenty of drivers looking to put down a good marker, and plenty of old veterans from season 1 looking to make sure that they're staying with the cool kids, the new kids on the block. As we do see Tyres at Vosberg here, the SRB Motorsport driver, one of the newcomers. We definitely looks quite quick in qualifying inside that top 10 overall. But what's it going to mean when he does go green flag racing? Now, a little bit of trivia for you with regards to this circuit, Sebring, one of the oldest in the United States of America. Now, what's very interesting about this circuit is the fact that it is actually situated still on a commercial airfield. So the Hendricks Army Air Base, which the circuit was located on, it's no longer in use, understandably, but if you go about 800 metres southeast of the circuit, or if you just go straight on effectively at what is Le Mans Bend at turn number 16, you will end up at Sebring Regional Airport, a commercial airport used for what is it, industrial flights, but also for flights between Sebring in Florida and other parts of the US of A. But the intrigue is not just going to stop there because, of course, in the early days of motorsport here at Sebring, when the circuit was really denoted by cones and also by paint, night racing led to some very peculiar retirements where drivers would drive onto the old runways, the concrete, which you do see, of course, as we do see Vosberg starting to make his way back towards the old runways in the military airfield, and drivers would get lost essentially in the dark, and they would go straight on them on, not figure out where the corner was, and they'd end up going deeper and deeper into the rest of the airfield. And at that point, they would get so lost because they're in the dark, there is no lighting around, and they'd have to retire from the race because they couldn't actually find their way back onto the circuit. Now, as far as I'm aware, in modern motorsport, at least not in the last 20 years, that's never happened, to be fair. We've had drivers go straight on at Le Mans, but it's not because they've locked up or made an error. We've not had somebody get lost and have to retire from the race in the best part of what's 40 to 50 years here at Sebring. But it's always quite funny to think that this circuit definitely was one that you could get lost at in the early days of motorsport around here. And the layout you do see has not changed too much over the course of its history. It has evolved to a degree. Indeed, it's not a Road America that's never changed over its expansive history. And Road America being one of the oldest circuits in the world, let alone the US of A. Indeed, it beats Sebring, I do believe, for age. But as we do see Charles Vosberg making his way on through, well, he'll be hoping he doesn't get lost today in all the madness. But we do see Matthew Massey here for Spectre Racing. A very stealthy car there, off the Spectrum, it must be said, black and green, and well, that BMW Airmate looking good. Now, what do we know about the balance of performance of the GTs at the moment? Well, to be honest with you, what we do know is that the Ferrari, whilst it was the princess car of Season 1, and indeed a car with a very narrow operating window, that operating window has opened quite a bit. It's a bit more flexible on its tyres and its brakes now. Somebody's laid down a big spin now. I think that is going to be, I think that might have been Vosberg, who's had a bit of a moment at turn number 5 as he toes back to the pit lane. We know that with the Ferrari, the Ford GTE, we're not quite certain. We've got a limited number of Ford GTE drivers here this season, including none other than Zelenskas, as we do see the SRB Motorsport by Linz Vega driver make his way onwards. And we know the Ford GTE is a very quick car at medium to high downforce circuits. We haven't got long straights, we've got plenty of corners. So think Road Atlanta, that's where we should expect the Ford GTE to really be in its prime later on in the season. But even here at Gender being Bend, for example, at turn number 1, and also going through turns 10 through to 13, which we do see here, this car should be quite quick on the direction change. The Porsche is always going to be a comfortable favourite, given the fact it is mid-engine rear-wheel drive, much like many of these cars. And in fact, if you're sat there thinking right now, shouldn't a Porsche be rear-engine rear-wheel drive? Well, you would be right. However, in modern motorsport, I do believe the Porsche 911 RSR, due to needing to comply with the regulations of the FIA World Endurance GTE spec, it was mid-engine rear-wheel drive as a result to comply, but it doesn't stop the fact it is a naturally aspirated screamer of an engine. And we'll probably too give you a demonstration of that right now as they all make their way onwards. You would think they were racing, but they're not. They're just getting in some practice whilst they can. The Corvette, the C8R, was of course previously the car to go to for the race pace. It had the widest operating window, as we do see Marcus Clayton make his way on around, but it wasn't the quickest on the straights, and therefore a very powerful car over race distance. Had the widest tyre operating window as well. Let's wait and see if that still applies. From what we've been hearing, the Corvette is no longer the quickest out there in terms of overall race pace. It has been brought in quite a bit as a result of the balance of performance, so it'll be interesting to see just how strong this car is now over longer race distance versus what is one lap pace. because it was always more race distance focused rather than pace focused, and we'll have to see where it's now moved into a bit of a middle ground. The BMW M8, well, what we have heard is the car that was the weakest on the brakes and the strongest on the straights is now a bit stronger on the brakes by comparison with its predecessor form. Indeed, those brakes have already been beefed up, so therefore this car is not as worrisome. And keep in mind, it's the only front-engine rear-wheel drive car in the drivetrains here. All others are mid-engine rear-wheel drive. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's 5 minutes of warm-up complete. And that can only mean one thing. It's time for our drivers to make the way back into the pit lane and get ready to head onto the grid for 60 minutes of racing action here in round number 1 of the SimRacing International GTE Championship Season 2, as brought to you on iRacing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this will line up for our season opener. Taking pole position on his debut, it's the Swede from GTE Motorsport. It's none other than Philip Ansel. He lines up on pole, overall and in the pro category, by 1.5 tenths over his teammate there of Isaac Fairweather. From down under to China, it's Wilson Liu, who starts in third for We Pay 300 Esports, and he's joined on the second row of the grid by Tom Bland. The Altitude 3M Esports driver will be in the company of him, and just behind will be Tim Perry, his teammate. The gap between the two of them, 3 tenths. That's quite a gap between our top 2 rows and the rest of the field. Joining Tim Perry on the third row, it's Joris Petersveen, hoping for a happier season. Indeed, the infamous number 2 car, not quite making its way back in terms of its livery, but the driver definitely making his way back, and we look forward to seeing what he can achieve today. Then we do have, starting in 7th place there, Christophe Dubois, the Frenchman, for Live Sim Racing, ahead of Team Endurotech's Ryan Cassidy. Then we do have from him in 9th place, from the Irishman to the Englishman, it's going to be none other than Mark Hutchinson. Although I do believe that's the Northern Irish flag there, unless I'm mistaken. The 103M Esports driver will have Mirko Bortolotti join him at the bottom end of the top 10. A bit of a surprise there for the Kazakh racing team driver, although I do believe he's been quite busy in real life, so perhaps hasn't been able to put as much practice in as he would like to. But behind them, starting at 11th place, it's going to be Pedro Luis da Silva. He's best the rest of GPX SimSport, and then you do come to your Interpol sitter of Mark Carlsberg. The Coupe de Academy driver starting 12th for Britain, ahead of the Lithuanian of none other than was Aramas Zelinksigas. Then we do see from SRB Motorsport by Lint Vegas driver, it's going to be Max Chambers, who starts 14th for Dynasty Motorsports. Then we will have the other Lithuanian driver of none other than SRB Motorsport, Vidas Andriuskavicius. And then we will see Flavin Tiefri join him on that 8th row of the grid to make 2nd and 3rd in the Interclass. Behind the Valiant Racing Team driver, it will then be Marinko Jornowski for Gazakh's Racing Team, ahead of Jordan Shamblin, who starts 18th for Dynasty Motorsports. And then we do have, starting in 19th place there, none other than Devidas Lovinonis. And from the SRB Motorsport by Lint Vega driver, it will be Jan Lintz, 20th for Gazakh's Racing Team. Gazakh's definitely not dominating in qualifying like we saw in previous seasons, but to be fair, it's all shaking up. Then we do have David Payne starting 21st for Coupe de Academy, ahead of Chad Henson, the Turbo Rennsport driver from Chad, starting there in the 303. It's then going to be Taurus Vosberg for SRB Motorsport, ahead of Mikhail Avasek for Inox Motorsport. And then from the Slovenian driver, it will be none other than debutant there of Rene Maurer for Leopard Esports. He begins your 13th round, is in the company of Kwangli 2 for We Pay 300 Esports. And then on row 14, it's going to be Matthias Pettinger for Inox Motorsport, ahead of Oliver Kemp. The Dynasty Motorsport strike is followed up there by Olivia Grenier, the Live Sim Racing driver, 29th ahead of Max Wheeler for Wheeler Racing in the Audi liveried car, but it's a BMW M8. That's the story there. He made the joke about the fact he went into the showroom and ended up being given a BMW when it was meant to be an Audi, and therefore he's going to race that BMW M8. And then we do have in the number 310, starting 31st, it's going to be none other there than Kai Hitchler. From the Leopard Esports strike, it's John Ludbrook, starting 32nd there for GPX SimSport, ahead of Kevin Smith, the Verano Esport with Edge Overlays driver, promoted to the 2nd tier, and looking forward to seeing what he can do there in the 272. And he's in the company of Patrick Den, the privateer from Germany. 35th on your grid, it will be your pole sitter in the Evo class, Brian Beardsworth, taking that pole position for GPX SimSport and doing it well by 2 tenths. Between himself and Mark Kent, who starts 2nd in the class, it'll be Justin Noel, the privateer, on home soil, and then Mark Kent starts on your 19th row of the grid for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, just ahead of James Bostock for GPX SimSport. And it will be none other than Nathan Healy for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, directly behind his teammate and the Irishman 39th, head of John Becker there for Valiant Racing Team. That's your top 40, and outside the top 40 we do have the company of Jaden Innes for Coupe de Motorsport on the left hand side, and on the right hand side will be Andrew Fellows for GPX SimSport. Then 43rd is going to be Clayton, Marcus Clayton involved for Renault Esport with Edge Overlays, head of Dwayne Hoffman for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. And then it's going to be Matthew Massey on his debut for Spectre Racing, 45th, ahead of the Italian of Gianluca Rospo for Dive Motorsport. And then we do have just behind Verano Esports Italian star there of Michael Salcuni. And then we will see on 48th on the grid, it'll be Gareth Newton for GPX SimSport, with Bruno Key, 49th for We Pay 300 Esports, ahead of Craig Tillotson for Verano Esports with Edge Overlays. And last but not least, 51st in this grid, it's going to be Gavin Corby. But already a bit of drama, ladies and gentlemen, because we do have, starting from the pit lane, Isaac Fairweather. So therefore, he missed the gridding procedure, probably due to a technical issue with the car. But as the field makes its way back to us now, well, Philip Ansell will know here it's a bit lonely at the front with Tom Bland alongside, but he's going to have a prime opportunity here to try and lead this one through Genderby and Bend and onwards. But as they follow the Ford Mustang safety car now down towards Sunset Bend, they've got a bit more time to go before they go green flag racing. But just as when we say, when Philip Ansell sees that safety car pull away, he does need to wait until the green flag goes, and he has 1 second to react, and within that he must then go green flag racing. He cannot go as soon as the safety car's out the way, so therefore this will be a bit of a slower start from what you're used to. Oh, that's getting a little bit tetchy there between Ansell and Bland. I think they've settled their differences, and it's time for Philip Ansell to take us away for 60 minutes of racing. And Season 2 gets underway for the GTE Championship as Philip Ansell goes green. As they make the way on down, everyone fans out here down towards Genderby and Ben. Car into the barrier on the rear of the pitch. I'm not quite sure who that is, but in the end they are all surviving for the most part. It's gone wrong. I think that was Jane Innes and Kevin Smith coming together. But meanwhile at the front of the field, Ansell holds on, but Bland immediately trying to go on the attack here in towards turn number 3. Car sideways in the rear of the pitch. I think that's Kai Hitchler getting it wrong, but under braking there. It's going to be Christoph Tabar side by side with Mirko Bortolotti. Bortolotti trying to gain ground as Ryan Cassidy meanwhile losing out there. A little bit of a high curve. Bortolotti goes round, losing the rear of the car. He goes spinning off the road as he ejects himself stage left. You can see him there parked up on his van. The whole field comes up through. It's a dramatic start and still more fighters. The bar right now under pressure, and Cassidy as the Italian driver trying to look round the outside, but the Frenchman defending hard. Further back, Flavien Thierry meanwhile into the hairpin here. He's now leading in the interclass. Balanced side by side with Zaninkers as they come charging out, and he gets ahead of the 4 GT driver, and that's going to get very close there. Max Chambers turns sideways across the front of a car, not quite sure who that was. I think that was Pedro Luis da Silva he came into contact with, and well, Chambers survived it, so was Pedro Luis da Silva, but that could have ended up in tears. Meanwhile, it's going to move up the inside there. David Payne absolutely lunging in, locks up the front right brake, and will definitely right now very eager, a bit too eager perhaps some would say. Meanwhile, further back, James Bostock, well, he's into the lead of the Evo class. I don't know how that's happened, but somehow he stuck his way through all the madness. We had a bit of a shake-up. Brian Beardsworth, meanwhile, dropped a long way back in GPX Sim Sports 188 car. He's down to second in that class, and Dwayne Hoffman's a bit further back. He's gained a lot of places, Hoffman. As we see Flavien Thierry rejoin, and they're just behind teammate John Becker, but also Gianluca Rosberg and Matthew Massey sneak on through. We've definitely got a few replays to bring you, ladies and gentlemen, about what exactly has happened on this open lap. And a lot of drivers right now out of position compared to where they started, but still let's stay with the momentum here as we do see Gav Newton being followed by Michael Salcuni, and meanwhile just in front there that is Marcus Clayton. But as these guys are on through meanwhile all the way back to the front of the field after one lap of racing almost here at Sunset Bend, and Philip Ansell still ahead of Bland and Wilson Liu. So therefore Ansell looking good at the moment, the Coupe de Motorsport driver pulling away, and Tom Bland a bit further back. But then again, that's the opening lap, and right now we've got plenty more to go. So one lap down, overall your top 10. Philip Ansell ahead of Tom Bland, followed by Wilson Liu. Christoph Dubois fourth ahead of Tim Perry, followed by Joris Peters V. Mark Hutchin is 7th. And then we do have Ryan Cassidy in 8th place ahead of Aramas Zelinskas. And then we have in 10th your leader of the Inters. That is going to be Vidas Andreas Kevicius. And well, just in front there, that is Mark Hutchin going up the inside of Peters V and trying to take 6th place off him. And the Ford GT driver there getting a lovely move on. Another place here. It may be the day, maybe the season where the Ford GTE is the car to be for Mark Hutchin, because right now he's definitely looking confident here. And while I was hearing down the pit lane, the build-up to today is expecting to struggle for this season, but right now the struggle is not real. He's definitely looking comfortable in that car, but here comes Peters Veen looking back around the outside. Is it going to work? No, it's not. He goes a bit deep, and that's going to open up the door here for Cassidy to try and make a way in as we ride on board here with the Team Endurotech driver from Ireland. Right now looking close, but can he look for a potential move, or is he just going to have to wait his turn? I think the answer is going to be he's going to have to wait here as he looks to the inside. That's not going to work, and going all the way through that right-hander now. We can see behind Zelinskas watching on, so therefore it is a bit of a train at the moment. They all need to get into the rhyme and rhythm of it. Leaving that on board. A bit further back, we do have, of course, Brian battle between Tals Vosberg and none other than Jan Lintz as they do make their way in towards turn number 13. Vosberg right now on the back of the Inter driver. The pro here trying to pick up the pieces that he's dropped at the very start. Albeit, it could be said, he's actually gained a load of places because he's gained 8 places since where he started. It looks a bit more than that. The qualifying was not his strength. What's happening further down the order, I hear you ask? Well, we've got a bit of change here as that's off into the weeds. Hold up a second, that's Rosbo there for Deep Motorsport, who's gone very wide at turn number 12. I'm not quite sure how he's ended up there, but he rejoins with Craig Tillotson just going up the inside. So there's a bit of a story there. Dwayne Hoffman, meanwhile, well, I said earlier about ended up in the other runways. I didn't mean to do it literally, and the 25 driver from the US of A has been escorted out there at turn 15. So he's been sent on his way. We'll get a replay of that when we can as he rejoins. But that's a BMW that's been sent a very long way away, and thankfully the barrier is there to make sure he doesn't go any further. But meanwhile, change of place. That's two teammates swapping around. Flavien Thierry getting ahead of his Evo teammate, of John Becker, the Inter driver, now up into 26th place. Now can you tell who's Evo versus Pro versus Inter? You can tell by the colour against them in the Siren Town, also on the cars, the door cards, whereby if it's red, it means they're Pro, the top class. Meanwhile, if they are green, such as Flavien Thierry, it means they're Inter, the middle class. And then if you do go to the blues, that will be your Evos there, or what is the lowest pace class expected to be. But of course, drivers are always looking to improve. His car coming back on the road there, that is BMW that's gone very wide. And I think that might be the BMW of Bruno Key right now, who's taken a bit of an adventure. It's all happening all over the place at the moment, but meanwhile, back to the front of the field we come. And as we do, well, Mark Hutchinson still keeping Joris Peters Veen behind. But this battle is definitely now starting to buy the top five a bit of breathing room. Although Tim Perry's going to be grateful for that. His teammate right now of Hutchinson is definitely helping him out. They're giving him a bit of gap. And that's going to add a bit of strategic advantage there to Altitude 3M Esports later on. As Perry and Bland will be grateful for the fact they do have a grind margin between themselves and the rest of the running field. Well, as he tries to come back to us now into turn 13. It's been an exciting opening couple of laps. I think there's plenty more excitement to come with this one. Things are looking quite static in the top 10 at the moment, but I think that's because everyone's just settling in. John Shamblin's had an absolute lightning fast start. He's already up into 11th place. He's second of your Inter drivers right now, with Andreas Kavicius in front of him there as they make the way through Bishop and in towards Le Mans. Albeit Marinko Jornowski behind them. The pro driver looking to try and peek his way through when he can. It does seem as though Shamblin right now, he can see a victory is potentially in front of him. He's pushing himself little by little here. Because Shamblin came close to some podiums last season in the cars, but he didn't quite bring home the win he wanted. He gave it everything. And there has been a bit of a brutal crash at the start, as I do see a number of you comments in there, and we will be talking about that very shortly. We look back here to Brian Beardsworth chasing after his teammate James Bostock for the Evo lead at the moment. And David Payne and Flavien Thierry are riding on behind here. And I suspect those Inter drivers will look to try and pick their way past those Evo drivers as easily as they can without losing any time. Although, to be fair, Bostock and Beardsworth, if they so desire, they could go defensive. Although, would it be worth it? The answer is probably not. Because the third place driver right now in the Inter class, in the Evo class I should say, is John Becker, who is a bit further back in the rear of the picture. As you can see him there, coming in towards turn 1 right now. But he's definitely putting down some strong laps. And in fact, he's beaten Bostock's pace by the best part of 2 seconds currently, and matching Beardsworth, so they could get a lot closer very soon. Further back, Gareth Newton chasing after Marcus Clayton, the battle of the Corvettes for 5th place in the Evo class. And the GP SimSport driver right now on the back of his rival, has been there for some time. Newton started 13th in the class, so he's definitely had a better start compared to most. Albeit things did go a bit wrong for many, and we do really need to understand what exactly did go wrong for so many drivers when we went green flag racing. But with all this happening, we look back up the front of the field, and this is Patrick Den right now with Kwong 2. They're fighting over 6th place in the Inter cars here. 2 looking one way, Den goes defensive on the inside. Meanwhile, Pedro Liz Silva tries to get out the inside of 2. He's going to go for it here. Is the pro driver, rubs a little bit of paint. There were 2 potentially, but no worries between the 2 of them as Justin Noel now gets close as well. He's trying to get involved a bit more. Looks one way, then the other way. 2 goes defensive here, making sure Noel cannot get past. And well, that's going to be the class position there between those 2 as they now make the way back to Le Mans. As they do, we make our way back in time, ladies and gentlemen, to find out what exactly happened at the start. Now, this was the drama at the very start. We believe it was towards the head of the what would be the infield previously, but now the Evo class today. And as James Bostock went racing, well, he was able to survive it all. So what exactly happened? Field went green, and well, a couple of cars went sideways. Oh, it's one of the BMWs that got caught out there, and it was a Porsche being collected with it. So that might give us an in-way. Bruno Key being caught up afterwards. Kevin Smith also in there. I wonder, was that Jaden Innes getting caught up there? Let's take another look back. So Innes was a little bit closer to what happened, perhaps. In fact, he was pretty much with Bostock there. So Porsche went into the barrier. Couldn't quite see who it was, but the car came sliding to halt. That was the 272 that got sent sideways. So that helps us out. And that car, the 272, being Kevin Smith's car. So Smith ran a nightmare start. And here's what happened. So Smith went green, and he did so there. I think as they make one through, well, couldn't quite see who tapped him, but he's gone sideways, and the car's gone sliding because he's got the brakes hard on, to be fair. He's done everything he can. Bruno Keenan, unfortunately, coming into the stricken car with Jaden Innes' car with him, and he being caught up there as well as none other than what was Kai Hitchler, and that saw them all in pieces. We had this from Mark Ken, also on lap number 1. This was Kent making his way into Denderby and Ben, went free wide there. Somebody had gone a bit wide in turn. I believe that was a car that went sideways, and Mark Kent in the end. Oh, goodness me! And unfortunately, Mark Kent being shuttled into his teammate. And well, that was contact to the rear there from one of the GTE Simsport cars. That's not the way they wanted to start it. And Nathan Healy being turned alongside Mark Kent. So Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport having a nightmare start to the day. And well, that is not the way you want it to go whatsoever. We then had this for Mirko Bortolotti. And well, Bortolotti we did see, of course, go very sideways here at turn number 5. And what exactly caused it? A bit of a contact with the 333 car. And then they unsettled the front end of that Corvette and sent it on around. So the Gazix Racing Team driver, smallest of touches, and saying the car going backwards and had to tow to the pits. We had this for Gavin Corby, albeit he was caught up in the open lap incident, or the start line incident, shall we say, and in the end had to park the car up because it was in pieces. And then we had this big moment for, I do believe, what was John Becker and Dwayne Hoffman. Now, this was them making their way down towards the hairpin. What exactly happened here? This was all in the open lap, we should point out. We will be coming back to live race action shortly. We don't want to be leaving for too long. And on the break, and I think everyone just queued up here. And in fact, oh, goodness me, Dwayne Hoffman having to turn sideways, car around. That was the car there. Brian Beardsworth had been turned. So they all queued up. What exactly happened? This was Beardsworth in the GTE Simsport car then. The car in front, making way into the braking zone. Ludbrook behind on the inside. That was Ludbrook on the inside, in fact. Onto the brakes they went, and what we do see is the aftermath there. The camera's not too good, but the 317 in contact with another car, and I believe that was Renee Maurer in contact with our Golf liveried Porsche, and that may explain some of the story there, but a bit of a nightmare moment for so many of them. We also had this for Olivier Grenier as he came on down. He also tried to take evasive action where he could, and in the end had to go all the way around the outside. So several drivers being caught up in that one. Not a happy incident whatsoever. But with that, we also take a look at what happened to Jaden Innes on lap number 2. This was Innes battling at the time for Coupe de Motorsport, coming in towards turn 13. Went into the right-hander, and as he did so, took a bit of apex curb, it sent the car around, and very sideways. So, unfortunately for Canadian drive, it went backwards rather than forwards. And with that, we go forwards back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we can't spend too much time back in the past, otherwise we'll miss everything that's happening in the present. And back towards the front of the field we go. Wilson here right now currently second, as you can see there. Philip Ansell just bolting away, setting fastest lap after fastest lap at the moment. Trying to do everything he can to run off into distance with this one. Bland behind, Christophe Debart and Tim Perry, that's your top 5. John Shambler, meanwhile, battling with Marinko Jornovsky. They're fighting over overall position only. The Gazix Racing Team driver sticking with his BMW for this season, at least for the start. He's much loved BMW, it must be said. And the German driver here, representing the German mark proudly, get up into what is that 10th place. Still 9th in the pro class, with Chamberlain and Jan Lintz behind. Now, Lintz, of course, in the special livery at Gazix Racing Team car. He did talk about that in season 1. The fact it's a slightly different livery there. He respects the sponsors and the colorations of the wider team's aspect. As he follows John Chamberlain, they are battling for 2nd place in their class. As we look to those class standings, there you can see them. Pro, Inter and Evo on your timings tower on the left-hand side. And then to try and look for that 2nd place with a gap of what is only 1.6 seconds to the class leader of Andreas Kavicius. And therefore, this will be very interesting to see exactly they negotiate this. Do they work together? Does it become the old game of the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Or do they fight hard for 2nd place and give the class leader the ability to break away? Well, we'll have to wait and see. We have lost a few drives in this race so far, including Matthias Pettinger and also Mirko Bortolotti with that turnaround. But otherwise, from 51 starters, we still have 49 runners, which is great to see, even if a couple of them are now a lap down. So everybody's staying in this to win it as best as they possibly can, apart from those who've lost out and have technical issues with their machinery. James Bostock, still the leader of the Evo class, as he makes his way on through. Past there, the now lap down car, Chad Henson. And, well, just behind him is the car that was parked up, of course, at turn number 7 on the overlap of Patrick Dean. So that was the car that got turned around. We didn't quite see the full story, but we know he was pointing in the wrong direction, and it led to the world's longest and most expensive traffic jam on race cars. Come back to Olivier Kemp as he comes down. The Density Motorsports driver making his way on through. In fact, Oliver there, he's British and not French. And he comes into that braking zone. The 232 driver here looking up the inside, and he will take the spot of the 303, albeit the lap down 303 of Chad Henson. And Kemp now pushing on, trying to get away from Brian Beardsworth. But upwards they go, and I do see the question there being asked by Nigel Burley, which is, are there fuel limits in effect? They are indeed, and Real Botterjob does confirm it. And hello to Real Botterjob, one of the assistant organisers of the series. We have 80% fuel tanks in these cars, which will mandate a pit stop. typically in most races, although there's always the option to try and fuel save and go for a no stop. And that's something we should point out. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements in this series. Therefore, if you think you can do it on a single tank, you are more than welcome to try it. And the same thing applies, which is when you come into the pit lane, you do not have to do tyres and fuel. You can do whatever you want in the pits. Although do keep in mind, we are running with World Endurance Championship regulations in these cars, which means that fuel must go in first, and then after that, tyre changes are optional and add time. And Max Chambers right now adds another place to those he's claimed as he moves up in the 15th place there, getting ahead of Mikhail Abasek, albeit that's overall position, not class. But speaking of upcoming class position changes potentially, well, Mark Hutchins still does have Joris Petersveen behind as we look back from the rear of your Ford GTE 391. Peter's been a bit more aggressive on entry in towards turn number 3. Different body language there of the cars tells you something. It tells you right now that the Porsche driver is definitely looking to play, but Hutchinson does not want to. He wants to just simply break away. Well, there's the point, therefore. And what we can expect typically with regards to these 60-minute races, we base it on last season, is fuel will go in, tyres will not be changed. Because remember, it's an extra 7 seconds a tyre after the fuel has gone in. So therefore, you want to try and get these tyres to last as long as possible. And Scuttlebutt down the pit lane says that the tyre model is a little bit hard now in terms of getting the tyres warmed up, but once they're warmed up, they have similar grip levels to what they previously had. But the operating window, the management window for the tyres is a little bit stricter, which means you can overcook these tyres more easily now. So our drivers do need to be consistent and careful with the way they do drive. And they all roll the way on through. Definitely a bit of slippy track out there, and Verano Esports confirmed that. We do have a few drivers swapping around. Well, what's happened recently is Rinka Jornovsky has towed to the pit lane as we've got a car off the road there. That is Arimas Zelinskas as he rejoins. A little bit hard on the brakes there. Pedro Luis de Silva having to stop the car. That was coming out of turn number 10 in towards Collier, and in the end, Zelinskas, well, he's definitely got a very frustrated Pedro Luis de Silva behind there, flashing his headlights, saying that was an unsafe rejoin. I think right now, hoping he can get the place back off of him for 11th in the pro category. We'll have to wait and see here. I think Luis de Silva is going to get this done on the road as we ride on board the dashboard here of the 355 drive from Portugal. And GPX Simsport trying to stay in close, getting very close. That looks up the inside, goes all in. And well, in the end, he wanted it and he's going to take it. Oh, it's going to be a drag race now down the back straight. You can immediately see there's Zelinskas tucking back to the inside. Picking up a bit of a side draft here as they make the way down. It'll be a very gradual gain, if any, in that Ford GTE. But he's going to go for it into Sunset Bend. He's going to try it. And the SRB motorsport by Lindberger, driver all in on the brakes. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. And Pedro de Silva finds himself now firmly in a battle here for what is 11th place in Pro. And behind them is a whole host of inter-drivers, including 2, Ludbrook, Noel, also Jeffrey and Payne, all queuing up. As into the pits has come quite hitched over. Meanwhile, this battle goes even further. Luis de Silva to the inside wall, and in the end he goes all in for it. Does he go too deep, however? The answer is no. And Pedro Luis de Silva, my good lord, that was a monster of a move. As meanwhile behind we see Quanley turn to go defensive versus Ludbrook. It's all kicking off now. This is a 6th place in the interclass, and as they come weaving and winding through turns 3, 4 and 5. Not really an overtaking opportunity there for that sequence of corners, but it's a good place to build up momentum for the hairpin that's coming up at the end of Big Bend. And Ludbrook getting closer and closer. As he comes on down towards that braking zone, he looks the inside. Is this a feint? Is this going to be a move? And 2 in the end simply outbrakes him in the middle of the road. But does he go deep as a result? The answer is almost. He just about gets it stopped. I think any later, a metre later, and that car would have been understeering very wide, it would have been a lock up there. So Ludbrook doing what he does best, which is getting into the minds of his rivals and trying to get them to make a mistake. They're not making mistakes at the moment, at least if we pay for an esports driver. Looking at back up the order to your leader for a brief moment. There is your pro and overall leader of Philip Ansell. And right now running away behind him is his sister machine of Coupe de Motorsport, none other than Isaac Fairweather. But unfortunately, Fairweather, with technical issues, missing the gridding procedure and starting from the pit lane. And in the end, where it all went wrong as well when it could go green flag racing. And for Fairweather, it's a long way back right now. Meanwhile, we've got change here, so that's going to be Tim Perry at the inside of Christophe Devois. So that's a change for 4th place. Make his way forward. Meanwhile, Mark Hutchinson being passed there by Joris Petersveen. So Altitude Freedom Esports gain the place, but they also lose one in Pro. Albeit differences of 2 drivers here, and Hutchinson trying to come back now as they make the way down towards turn number 1 once again. We are a quarter of the way into this race. Will soon be a third done. And Hutchinson here under pressure from Petersveen on the inside of him as they come through Gender B and Bend. But Hutchinson using the downforce strength here of the Ford GTE to his advantage. You can see how confident he can sweep around. And Petersveen being quite respectful there as Ryan Cassidy are watching these 2 from behind. But in the end, Petersveen gets it stopped very nicely. And Hutchinson just has to wait. Looks up the inside to turn 5. That's bold, but that's never going to work from that far back. And Cassidy watching even more now. I think he's itching to try and make a move of his own as we jump on board. The man who's trying to make this a menage a trois. Watching at the Altitude Esports 4 GT. Where's it going to position itself? Cassidy looks to the outside here. Switches back to the inside. He goes to the dummy. Does he get it on the brakes? He may just do so here. He gets it. Stop. Hutchinson holds it around the outside. And now they're going to be too wide here coming through Fangio Ben. This is going to give Peters Weaver a bit of breathing room. He'll be very grateful for that now as they come in towards the next heavy braking zone because of the fact he won't have to keep abusing his tyres and his brakes. The Porsche very good on its brakes typically, but you can see Castillo on the inside. Hutchinson trying once again to sweep it around outside to inside. They give each other racing room. Plenty of spec being shown, and Hutchinson gets back up the order, back into 7th place there. What a brilliant battle between them, and it's just over into Tower Corner. Castillo can't come from that far back unless he really lunges it, but then he'd be hoping that Hutchinson is going to see it and opens up the steering wheel. But I suspect Hutchinson right now is going to be looking at one thing and one thing only, and that's going to be the 351 of Peters being just in front. He's got that move done, and now it's starting to make his way up to Christophe Dubois, who is 5 seconds up the road. But with those changes, we've got even more changes here, and well, that's a battle for 11th place starting to kick off here in the Interclass, as that's going to be Oliver Kemp getting ahead of Patrick Den. And well, good swap there as being on James Bostock, leader of the Evo class. Well, he comes onto the back of this with John Becker 2.5 seconds behind. You can see in the rear of the picture, Becker's doing a really good job of recovering this race after a difficult start, and Brian Bidsworth the same as well. They're closing on Bostock. I think Bostock right now definitely enjoying being at the very front of the class in what is the Evos, but I wonder how long his time will be at the front there. Not because he doesn't deserve to be there, but because he has got some faster drives really coming through. They are lapping 7 to 8 tenths a lap faster behind him. And meanwhile, in this inter-battle, well, Kemp and Den, they are falling away from Payne, who's in 10th for the class. But I think they're still enjoying themselves here as they head down the Ormond Straight. And will Den look to the inside? He thinks about it once, he thinks about it twice, but he doesn't get it here, and he does not dare do it thrice. As Oliver Kemp just simply holds his ground. As they wind their way towards the end of a lap, we look back to Marcus Clayton, the 5th of the runners here in the Evo class, on the back of Dwayne Hoffman. Hoffman, the only full-tilt virtual motorsport car that was not heavily impacted by the race start, although it did have an off, to be fair, on the opening lap, but nowhere near as huge, we could say, as what happened to some of the other drivers, and therefore Hoffman enjoying a much happier race. Albeit Clayton right now is definitely trying to put a little bit of a torpedo in that, if he can make a move. Albeit Hoffman in number 25, wrong door number 4 today. It should be a slightly different number, that will be fixed for next week's broadcast, but right now, 25 or not, he's enjoying himself out there, the American driver. A very good driver, to be fair, and just getting his head down and settling into the ride. From him, back to the front we go to Philip Ansell. Leader by 5 seconds. The gap right now is growing still. He is the fastest driver out there, even if it's by a 10th over Wilson Liu. He's definitely roaring away as the Swede, as he's your second place man, with Tom Bland closing quite quickly. Bland right now is absolutely going for it, and more understandably here, I think he fancies his chances of chasing downwards the second spot at the podium and seeing how far he can go in this race. Now, strategy, of course, is starting to become a bit of a question mark here with those 80% fuel tanks. We are well within the pit window, and we have had a few drivers come into the pits to take their stops, including none other than Rene Maurer, who we see here in the 317 at BMW, having pitted on lap number 8, the Leopard eSports driver from Austria. Will definitely right now be thinking there's a lot of places to be made, and it's Craig Tillotson for company in front. The only downside, of course, of this approach, going for the undercut so early, is you will come out behind drivers who've yet to pit, but Craig Tillotson there goes to the weeds, unfortunately, at the hairpin. It just outbrakes himself by the looks of things and takes a long trip back through the grass, so therefore you'll not be in the way of the BMW driver right now. But the risk is, of course, if you do cut behind drivers who have yet to pit and they don't realise that you have pitted, they may choose to fight you for position, not realising they're actually in an entirely different race, and therefore there is no net value in battling with you. But it's an easy mistake to make when there's so many drivers out there, so many classes, and everyone's relatively new to each other. Indeed, it's like the first day back at school, you could say, in some respects, as everyone's getting to know each other and they're all trying to understand who's who, who's in which class, and who you need to be aware of and who you need to give more space to, versus who you can really battle close to. Although we'd like everyone to be able to battle closely where they can, but everyone does have a reputation about the on-the-grid positive, negative, or somewhere in between. Wilson Liu right now, still keeping Tom Bland behind. Well, that gap is coming down little by little. Bland last lap was 3 tenths faster. Therefore, whilst your leader of Ansel has continued to extend his lead, the U's gap advantage here for second is definitely dwindling and hanging on by a thread. But will Bland go for it on the road here as he goes a little bit wide, coming for 11 in towards 12? And I think right now for Bland, he might be just trying to get out there dirty and cool the tyres down a little bit. He's had to push hard to get there, but to be fair, he's earned it, and now he's got to think more strategically about the fact that when he wants to do the entire race on that single set of tyres, he does not want to push them too hard too soon. Tim Perry with Christophe Dubois for tow. These guys together now, trying to get back up to the podium battle if they can, and Dubois really having to work his Corvette to get close. I believe they're doing a good job of it. course, with all that, we have seen Ryan Cassidy and Mark Hutchinson's battle continue to grow as they're being dropped by Joris Petersveen very gradually. And these are all pro drivers at the moment, making their way down the Ormond Straight and getting ready to go on to the next lap. But what's happening elsewhere outside of the pro class? Well, in the interclass right now, this is the fight for fourth place. Inox Motorsports' Mikhail Abasek still holding on at the moment, but Mark Kelsbert right behind him as he makes his way down. As they head up towards turn number 17, well, you can see there the 225 driver getting closer and closer, but he's not really close enough here, surely, to make a move in a very lovely livery machine. He's thinking about it, most definitely, and Pedro Luis da Silva there behind. He thinks to himself, what's he going to do at this point? Because he's a pro driver, catching two into drivers. Well, I think they're getting ready to lock horns. Not always the happiest place to be. And then look a bit further behind, you'll see Flavien Tiefri trying to make a move in quality 2 here for 6th place in the interclass. He's almost there in attacking distance, but still a bit more work to perhaps be done. They go on to their 13th tour of the circuit. What's happening further down the order in the Evo class? Well, right now, here's Brian Beardsworth and John Becker together, and James Bostock has actually upped his pace quite recently, so he is now matching these two. He's no longer being caught as rapidly as he was previously, so that might help him out a little bit. Albeit Becker and Beardsworth, they're still keeping one eye on each other, and Beardsworth right now could be the key here to where Bostock finishes in this race, given the fact they're teammates, and Beardsworth would ideally like to make it a 1-2, but the problem is that John Becker, well, he is the fly in the ointment here, and he does not want him to get closer to Bostock. He needs to find a way in, and of course he might want the win for himself as well. So it's always going to be a bit of a chop and change. Speaking of changes of foot, we had a few drivers come into the pit lane. Mark Kent has recently also made what is some progress, now into 11th place in the Evo class, albeit yet to take his actual pit stop for what will be his strategy purposes. He has taken a fast pair early on after contact between himself, Nathan Healy, and another driver who was instigated by the other driver who hit him on the rear end, as we saw from the footage earlier on. And then he was sent on to Healy's car, and unfortunately, where all went a bit wrong. Craig Tillerson's just in front of them, and Tillerson yet to pit, so a bit of difference there. Tillerson in the same race as these guys, or he's not had to go into the pits, although he has had some trips to the grass. Tillerson hold on right now in 10th place in the Evo category. The Ferrari not as quick, they're coming out the corner, and it does look as though Kent, the man who started in 2nd place in the Evo class, is getting ready to try and make a pass here. Tillerson puts the car in the middle of the road. Will Kent flick to the inside? These two know each other very well from touring car racing, and the answer is going to be yes. It's going to be Kent up the inside, and Tillerson in the end gives all the space and does not put up too much of a fight there, recognising the fact they are two different drivers in two different levels of pace, and therefore there's probably not value in fighting it as much as he would with another driver who's similar on pace by comparison. Coming back up the order, we look back to Carlsberg as he comes up towards turn number 1. And Pedro Luis da Silva now closer to him here as we near the halfway point of this race, so that's going to be one to watch. But this is going to be even more eager to watch because that's Hutchinson versus Cassidy. And Cassidy looking at the inside and onto the brakes. Here he goes into the hairpin. This will be for 7th place in pro and overall. And well, he gets it stopped there absolutely wonderfully. And Hutchinson in the end tried to go around the outside to defend it, as he had done previously in his battle with Joris Petersveen. But unfortunately that did not work. But look at the corner X that Ford GT gets. I can tell you one thing, the low speed acceleration that Ford GT now, given the fact they do have open setups on these cars, they can tweak the gearboxes as well as plenty of other settings. But it seems like Ford GTE has got plenty more traction on the rear end, and Hutchinson, the setup they've got on that car for Altitude Frame Esports, is complementing it massively. And that's working out very well as they head down towards Bishop Bend. As they do, well, Hutchinson falling a bit further back now. Christophe Dubois, meanwhile, he's had a bit of an off. He's lost to Tim Perry, and in fact, the 5th place man's under pressure. What exactly happened to him? Here's a replay. So this was Christophe Dubois heading in towards turn number 13, and well, chasing at the time after Tim Perry, going through Tower Bend. Ooh, there was a bit of traffic in front, but that was not the reason for it. Dubois went wide, rear left tyre went to the gravel or the grass, and unfortunately he tried to get the power down there. It kicked the car around, and Dubois hitting the barrier, but able to carry on there. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some suspension damage on that car, and also some aero damage, which will be hurting him through both the corners and also on the straight. But there he comes, down the start-finish straight, as we come back to your live racing action. And flashes headlights there to say to Isaac Fairweather, can you please step aside? In fact, that's not Isaac there. That is the car of, I believe, Gavin Corby, who's stepping aside. But Christophe Dubois, they're very eager to make sure that a car that's a lap or more down is not going to get in his way, as right now he's definitely feeling the pressure behind him, because that's Petersveen, Cassidy and Hutchinson all together with him, all watching on eagerly. Looking further back, meanwhile, to your interleader, it's still SRB Motorsports, Vinus Andreas Kevius, and as he makes his way on through in towards this halfway point of the race, he's still very much in control of the category. And And, well, it's going to be an opportunity here for the 293 driver to try and get things right. And I should say his surname, actually pronounced correctly, is Andrus Kevicius, not Kevius. And as he makes his way on down, it's going to be 2 seconds the gap to Jan Lintz at the moment. And the 222 driver is very gradually starting to equal the Lithuanian in front of him. And he's been able to slightly drop John Shamblin, but the gap, 1 to 2 seconds between each of these 3 cars here for the podium spots in the inter-category. Therefore, it's going to be interesting to see where exactly they end up on strategy. Further back, John Ludbrook battling side by side with David Payne and Alston. Justin Noel getting past him there. And in fact, I think Ludbrook so tight at the hairpin, losing out considerably. But whilst they've changed places, we also had Flavien Thierry off camera move up into 6th place in the interclass. So a bit of change of foot. We'll get some replays of that very shortly and some good racing to be had. But we can see here, here's Thierry and Quanley 2 together. And the Valence Racing Team driver right now under pressure there from the WePay 300 Esports Porsche. Getting ready to go into the Bishop Bend at the moment. He seems to be safe. That's going to give him a bit of confidence as they still have a 5-second gap to Justin Noel. But the problem is, the more fighting these two do, they will naturally lose that time. They will bring the rest of the Inter top 10 right in amongst them all. As they make their way down the back stretch, let's take a look back at what exactly happened in those moves, starting with John Ludbrook losing out. So this was heading down towards turn number 3, and Ludbrook under braking there. Where exactly did the car go? It went wide. So Justin Noel in the end saw an opportunity, went too wide into turn number 5 in his Corvette, and the American driver was able to get all the way on the inside to the outside of Big Bend. So it didn't end there. But look at this. Meanwhile, it was a freeway fight because David Payne tried to make it free wide. And in fact, did he go in the middle? He tried to, but Ludbrook covered him off, saying no, too wide at most. But Ludbrook defended the inside, no on the outside. Well, Johns went a little bit deep there, but Ludbrook in the end just could not get the traction out the corner. In fact, had to lift off the throttle to prevent some oversteer, and that is how David Payne snuck through with Justin Noel. Meanwhile, what exactly happened in the battle for Flavien Thierry versus Quanley 2? This happened at the same time. This was heading in towards turn number 10 at Cunningham Bend, and Thierry closed, pulled to the inside, and I suspect went for the classic move on the brakes. He did indeed and got the job done there, and Quanley 2 immediately tucked onto the back of him and tried to continue the battle. We had this as well for US Peters Veem versus side-by-side with Christophe Dubois. So finally got the move done, perhaps, after Dubois off earlier on. And it was too wide for Gender B and Bend, and it was too wide in towards turn number 3. So this was for 5th place overall and in pro. And then suddenly, did the floodgates open there for Christophe Dubois as Ryan Cassidy tried to come on through? The answer is no, they did not. Back to live at racing we come, and Ryan Cassidy right now has still got the pressure of Mark Hutchinson behind him. We're into the second half of the race, 29 minutes and the final lap to go. Fastest lap still being set by drivers at the very front of the field, and purple sectors in particular for Wilson Liu and Tom Bland in the middle sector. Both of them really chomping the time. But we can see here Christophe Dubois has now got the problem of Cassidy up his inside. The Team Endurotech driver going all in. Will he get it done here as they exit onto the start-finish straight? Well, of course, being on that inside line, you can't get the throttle down as comfortably compared to those on the outside. You don't have the runoff area to run with. And Mark Hutchinson here is thinking about making this a freeway fight coming in towards Gender Bean. It's going to be Dubois defending. Cassidy going around the outside still. Just gets a nose ahead there. He's got a bit more speed to carry and make his way back on. Dubois goes defensive in the middle of the road here. He's going to lunge it on the brakes. So Dubois not out of this yet. He may be wounded. He may be bruised, but he's not broken. But in a small tap side by side. And that's going to send him slightly offline. And now Hutchinson tries to get on through. Great racing respect between these guys. Dubois not too happy. Flashes his headlights there regards that tiny touch with Cassidy's car. But I think that'll be deemed a race instant next. It's all in the part of fair racing. And coming down towards the hairpin, where it's going to be Hutchinson on the inside here. He will get that move just about done. And Christophe Dubois falls to the back of this group now. Falls to 8th place. But if he can stay with these guys, I think when he comes into the pits, he puts the fast repair on the car. He's definitely going to be very competitive, and he'll try to get these places back as quick as he has lost them in the second stint. Although it could be a bit of a smaller second stint as Dubois up the inside. Hutchinson goes all in. And what he's not giving up yet is the Frenchman, the live SimRacing driver. He's absolutely loving it out there in that Corvette. He looks so confident in that car. And coming up towards Tower, well, here comes Hutchinson back at him or not. No, he does not. He stays behind. But Hutchinson will be trying to come back when he can. Meanwhile, whilst this is happening at the very front in the battle for second, it's Wilson Liu and Tom Bland together. And Bland has really caught up over the last couple of laps. as they make the way down Allman this time. Well, that's 2 temps and closing here. Bland was previously 3 to 4 temps back, but now it's inched really nicely forward. Now to 3M Esports driver looking up the inside here. Does he go for it? Yes, he does. Onto the brakes. And in the end, Lou does not offer much of a defense here. I think he's thinking about strategy rather than track battles right now. And Wilson Yu just simply rides on behind here. And well, in fact, he's going to go too wide down to Agenda B and Ben. He's going to have the outside here. So this is all part of the strategy to get the place back. He wanted to go essentially for the outside line at Agenda B and see what Tom Bland can do. And the answer is Tom Bland knows exactly what he needs to do. Runs it so close to the wall there. Any closer, he would have been embedded in the barrier. He'll hold on to second for now. Liu looks for it, but it's not going to come forward for there. Stays in third. Mark Hutchinson, meanwhile, still battling with the bar, and the altitude for him Esports driver is going to try and do what Bland did only moments ago as he goes up the inside, and he takes that 7th place back off of the bar, but is it all for naught? It may just be because the bar's now going to try and outbreak him around the outside. Turn number 3 goes a little bit deep, and Rian Cassidy tries to pull away. Christoph de Bar, meanwhile, well, a small bit of understeer under braking. That's going to seal the deal there and force him to have to accept 8th place at least for now. Further back in the Evo class, James Bostock still your class leader on the back of Patrick Den, and we can see there John Becker close. Dwayne Hoffman's with them. And meanwhile, Brian Beardsworth is not in this sequence anymore, not because he's had an incident, but Beardsworth has pitted. So therefore, he's taken his pit stop. He's decided to go for the undercut strategy. GPX Simsport are splitting their drivers. Bostock is going to go for the overcut, or as long as he possibly can. And John Becker finds himself sandwiched between the two. So therefore, GPX Simsport, I think, wants to guarantee at least one of the drivers wins in the Evo class. But whether it's Bostock or Beardsworth, that's going to be the question mark. And John Becker's got to find a way to try and outsmart the pair of them. But Marcus Clayton for Rhino Esport of Edge Overlays, chased after Dwayne Hoffman for third on the road in the Evo class, but is effectively fourth as we understand it, although we do have a few other drivers who have pitted in the Evo class. We've got to wait until they all fit back into the bigger picture, including Gianluca Rospo here. We do see Andrea Marchetti cheering on this man, and the Dib Motorsport driver currently in 11th place in the class, but do keep in mind he pitted on lap number 16, so therefore he is most likely battling for around 7th to 6th in the Evo class. The Italian driver just hoping he can have some clear track in front of him. The good news for him is he's got Isaac Fairweather in front, 1.3 seconds up the road, and Fairweather definitely quicker on pace by comparison, so Roscoe does not have to worry about coming up behind him too soon, and it's a further 19 seconds to Mark Kent, so therefore he's got clear track every step of the way, and plenty of places most likely to come his way later on when those pit stops do come about. But back to behind, and here we see Hutchinson versus Rian Cassidy, and Cassidy losing out there versus Hutchinson. Hutchinson getting back ahead of him, so Mark Hutchinson has not given up on this battle. He's still definitely wanting this. Back into 6th for now, but I suspect this is all chop and change. It'll be the pit stops where we really see the deals done and made. These two drivers definitely eager to do battle as they roar the way onto this 19th lap. And speaking of battles here, well, after Bland found his way ahead of Wilson Liu, right now the WePay 300 Esports driver is hot on his heels once again. The gap to Tim Perry, it should be added, he's at 3.5 seconds and it is still growing. Perry has really opened up that gap quite nicely. These drivers coming through, and we do say hello there to Robin Noel Brown. It's a big shout out to GPX Simsport lads. Go get them, boys, and good luck. Gutted to not be on the grid with you this week, and we are expecting Noel Brown to be on the grid later on this season. And also, we must give a shout out to those tuning in from what is the early hours of the morning in Australia, including none other than Nigel Burley, who's tuning in from Australia, cheering on the Varno crew. He's got his morning brew, and we say hello to Captain Vines there, who's cheering on none other than what is Rospo, who we spoke about only moments ago, and also Proxy there, who we said good evening to, and good evening to you, sir. But as we have a few more changes there, I think we've just had a change for position between Pedro Liz de Silva and Mark Carlsberg, and here is the man in question. And Carlsberg has definitely been passed there by Pedro Liz de Silva overall position, so that's for 14th place, but not in class. So somebody's kicked up a bit of a brake dust cloud there. I wonder who that is. Have a look out our Conte booth window meanwhile. Patrick Den and Mark Kent into the pit lane for their scheduled stop. And that'll be the second stop of the day for Mark Kent, having already visited the pits for repair work. It's a bit unfortunate there, but he'll be making his way on down. We briefly do lose de Silva's cars to the EFA, but it comes back. And we'll hope that's not a sign of a burgeoning technical issue, as Wilson Yu now sets the fastest lap of the race at 55.24. So he's found a bit more time out there. It seems as though these cars really come alive, and it goes to show you that tyre compound is going to go the distance. Very interesting there as to where the tyre life starts to fall apart, because the rumour has been these tyres now can go even longer than they used to be able to, so therefore we're definitely not expecting any tyre changes. Well, as we do look to your overall leader of Philip Ansell, the Coupe de Motorsport driver in the 348, still controlling this race. Gap now 7 seconds to Tom Bland. still very much in control as we show you the class standings there. And he's leading pro and overall. But whilst he may be in control, Mark Hutchinson right now is trying to assert some control over 6th. Albeit here comes Ryan Cassidy up the inside. And Cassidy goes for it there late on the brakes. And more the bravery there on the brake from Cassidy in that Porsche. Well, the Porsche's brakes have not changed in terms of how strong they are. And Cassidy really coming at him. But Hutchinson, to be fair, for everything that he's been given by Cassidy, he is giving back just as good. And Hutchinson right now, he really is enjoying that Ford GTE as it gets a little close. A little tap between the two of Hutchinson in the end. Flashes headlights there. I think that's a knee-jerk reaction by mistake on the steering wheel. But there was a touch and Cassidy gives the place up there to make sure he does not gain from a push to pass. And Christophe Debar now all over the back of this. We ride on board with Debar, who gets the better exit out the corner, heading in towards Bishop. Side by side they go, making the way through the left-hand. Of course, he'll try and take the inside into turn 15 as the wipers go on. There's no rain falling. It's just a simple reason he wants to clear any debris off the windshield, and he'll get to the inside. Can he hold it all the way through? The answer is no. He tucks back in, and as they make the way through Le Mans corner, well, we go back aboard the dashboard. Who's car once again there. Now into the draft, and these cars pick up a significant tire for each other. They're not like Ed. Can he get the move done? Yes, he can. Now, we do apologise there if the stream did drop out for a brief moment. We're not quite sure what's happened. I think that might be on YouTube side, but we may have lost about 2 to 3 seconds of the broadcast there, if not a little bit longer. But you've just seen Christophe Debar make his way past Ryan Cassidy with a brilliant back and forth battle between the two of them that started all the way back at Tower Corner and was completed at the Sunset Bend. So lovely work from the 328 driver, and onward he goes. We get a look back of the last part of that move. And here it was, ladies and gentlemen, after missing out, went down through Le Mans corner. Debar in the end, just looking up the inside, went all in for it. And well, Cassidy decided not to fight it too hard, respecting the fact the more these two fight, the more that Mark Hutchinson is going to pull away and make that move absolutely as smooth as silk. But back to live racing we come. And as we do, Tom Bland right now, still on a mission here with Wilson Liu close to him. So Liu not being dropped here. These two definitely fight each other as Philip Ansel has responded with a new fastest lap race, a 55.22 that previous lap. So he's doing everything that everyone else can do out there in terms of race pace. I think he's trying to prove a point, which is whatever other drivers can do, they need to do a lot more. But of course, in our other classes, in Inter and Evo, the battles have calmed down for now. We are already waiting at the mercy of the pit stops to see where everyone fits together. This does happen every so often, of course. We do sometimes see the racing go a bit quiet, and that is because everyone's right now working out strategy. And well, as we see Bland and Liu heading towards the end of their 21st tour of the circuit, in the Inter class, here is your class leader at the moment of Vidas Andruskevicius, and the SRB Motorsport driver definitely 1.3 seconds clear of Jan Lint. Still, he is setting personal bests at the moment, but Lint is matching him. So it does seem as though these two are going to be locking horns, and it may come down to essentially who's the quickest in the pit stops in terms of the fuel gun. And John Chamberlain is 4 seconds back and is losing out a little bit. Coming down, we come back to Ryan Cassidy up the inside of Christophe Debar through Sunsets. They try to swap it around again, and that's going to be the battle there for 7th place in pro and overall. And Debar gets ahead, so Cassidy trying to find his way back past, but of course the more these two fight, the more that Mark Hutchinson is going to pull away. Cassidy to the inside this time, and that's going to be a lovely switchback move there through Genderby and Bend. And Debar do not think has an answer unless he goes all in on the brakes here, but that's quite far back, and he decides no, there's no need to do it, he's going to wait instead. As to what's going on in the Evo class, well, here's your second place driver, John Becker, and just in front of him at the bottom of your picture is James Bostock. Remember, it's a trio who are battling for the win here today. The third place driver is Brian Beardsworth, but he has pitted. He's currently in 6th for the class, and here he is down in 33rd overall. And he's got clear track in front of him because he has got 10 seconds before he does get to none other than Salcuni, Mikhail Salcuni, and he's going to be quite safe. The driver behind him, meanwhile, now he's going to be your race leader of Philip Ansel putting a lap on Beardsworth, so he won't be too upset about that because that's happened at an opportune place, going in towards Bishop Bend. And therefore, the only pressure behind him is Matthew Massey, who is 2.6 seconds behind and not quite on the pace by comparison. And the Spectre Racing driver still doing a good job. He's yet to pit, however, in the Evo class, so expect him to be demoted outside the Evo top 10. But given his pace, we suspect he's definitely on course here for what could theoretically be around 11th or 12th. It's going to be interesting to see where he fits back into that order. Depends on how all the pit stops go and how quick he is on the fuel gun. Right, back to Bland versus Liu. Wilson Liu so close here as they make the way down. As they do, well, these two nose to tail still. And we'll come through that right hand. No change, at least at the moment. Or Liu there or thereabouts. And Bland just simply parking on the back of him, waiting for a chance to get involved. Rian Casti and Christophe Debar, they're going to go toe-to-toe again, or are they not? Well, Debar looks to the inside. Casti says, no, you don't. The Team Endurotech driver just holding his ground here, but they do not want to come into the pit lane at the moment. Neither one does. But I do wonder whether the actual play here... Oh, hold up a second. That's a big snatch of the car there from Debar. And in fact, I think the suspension on that car's gone. It has. I think he's had a brush with the barrier. Alternatively, where he's hit one of the bumps in the road. Debar's car has given up. The damage has got to it in the end. That is how harsh the concrete transitions are on the Sebring circuit. And Debar's car falling there. I don't think he did hit the wall, or if he did, it was the tiniest of brushes. But either way, that suspension has collapsed on Debar's car, and his race is now in the pit lane. And that is absolutely gut-wrenching for the live SimRacing driver from France. Was delivering an absolutely entertaining drive, even a car that definitely was not healthy. But sadly, that car has failed the health test, and it's had to go for repair work. As Bland and Liu continue to have a very healthy battle. Well, what else is there to talk about further down? We do have, of course, the battle for 12th place overall, and what is 9th place in the Pro class between Taos Vosberg and Pedro Luis da Silva. 4/10 is the gap with Mark Carlsberg right behind. And as he comes on through in towards turn number 7, that's how these drivers are, and Mikhail Evasek a second behind there. So he wants to get involved a little bit more. All these drivers simply playing the game here, trying to work together as Kwangli 2 has come into the pit lane. Off camera has been serviced, and we've also had Dwayne Hoffman recently come in. There he is, making his way on out, so he's going to drop down the order in the Evo category. But who's he going to drop behind? As there goes Renee Maurer, and then we do have Mikel Salcuni coming into the pit lane. Where's Brian Beardsworth? Here he is. Now, Beardsworth did not change tyres, he just took fuel. Dwayne Hoffman's had a really quick pit stop. I think Hoffman's got the jump on Beardsworth. He has. So Hoffman has actually leapt into effective. We believe now Hoffman is third in the Evo class. Well, how about that? So Dwayne Hoffman has been saving fuel massively over the course of this race. More pit stops now playing out in front of the lead of the race is Philip Ansel, which means he won't lead every lap. Tom Bland is going to go on to lead a lap. There is with Wilson Liu. But as they come through now, well, Ansel has been serviced and he's getting ready to make his way out the pit lane. Also, we do have Tim Perry and Mark Hutchins in behind. But Rian Casti and also Joris Petersveen stay out. Vidas Andrew Secrius, he comes into the pit lane as well, and as the SRB Motorsport driver comes on down, well, he gives up the lead of the interclass for now at least, as Jordan Shamblin will take it. But also into the pit lane has come Jan Lind, so Shamblin going a little bit longer, and also Mark Carlsberg also goes on, and Chambers and Pedro da Silva separate the two of them. But this is definitely getting very tactical at the moment. All these drivers, I think, trying to understand, all right, when's the right time to pit? Has the fuel gauge said 0? And if so, well, it could all be chop and change. Into the pits on the lead of the Evo class as well is James Bostock, with John Becker coming in behind him. So now, who is going to be the leader of the Evo class? Because Marcus Clayton, no disrespect to the American driver, he surely can't be, because he's got to pit as well. But who is going to be with Dwayne Hoffman still out there? We look to the blimp camera. He's still making his way on through in towards Le Mans Benz. That's quite a long way away from the leaders. As Bostock right now getting ready to park up the car. In fact, Bostock's already been in and coming back out. So hold the phone on this one, because I think Bostock here might have just pulled daylight robbery with his pit stop. John Becker's a bit further back, and well, in the end, with Dwayne Hoffman still making his way on through, he's coming through Sunset now. Well, Bostock here is definitely outsmarted everyone on strategy, because Bostock retakes the Evo lead. It's been the fuel-saving strategy that's paid dividends, and Bostock's got this job done with John Becker a bit further back. And meanwhile, Marcus Clayton, in the end, he leaves the pit lane, but Dwayne Hoffman's just going to get past him, so Hoffman does take third in the Evo class, just ahead of Marcus Clayton, and Brian Beardsworth has lost out massively here. Now, one question we do have, Beardsworth pit stop was 20.6 seconds. Did he take a tyre change? Did he need one tyre that needed looking after, or was there a problem with the car in the pit lane? Because it was a much longer stop by comparison. And will the splash and dash working out, as there's even more drama in the pits. Black flag for Tom Bland. Now, is that for speeding in the pit lane? I suspect it is, as Wilson Hughes coming behind him, but he's going to serve that. That'll be a stop and hold penalty if it's a speed in the pit lane. Infringements, that's not going to work out for Bland at all. So Ansel comes on through and retakes the lead overall and in the pro class. But Wilson will surely be leaving the pit lane, as Bland is still being held there. So he's got to stop and hold. That is for pit lane speeding. And well, John Shamblin is going another lap with Max Chambers right with him. You couldn't make this up. The DST Motorsports driver right now trying to go as long as he can. He wants to see if he can sneak ahead of everybody in the interclass. Well, I don't blame him. Flavien Thierry doing the same as well. They're going as deep as they possibly can into this race. And where are your pit stop leaders leaders in the interclass. So here you ask, well, Mark Carlsberg is into pit lane at the moment, parked up, but here is none other than Vidas Andruskevicius as he comes through turn number 1, and the 293 driver right now will take the third place back with Jan Lintz 2 seconds behind him in the rear of the picture. So if he's gained on Lintz in the pit stops, we've still got a few more pit stops to come, and we'll show you who's exactly pitting and who's not on the timing tower. And here you go, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to those pit stops, and as you can see, most drivers have pitted now. But there are a few out there who still yet to take their mandated pit stop, as Mark Kent picked up a yellow flag for track limit. So it's all a little bit of chop and change between them all. We will see as John Stately cheering on Matt Massey. And where is Massey at the moment, I hear you ask? Well, he's in 10th place here in the Evo category. But to be fair to him, he's on the back of Nathan Healy. And the Spectre Racing driver we're looking to do battle with the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport car. With Mark Kent 4.5 seconds behind. So we thought that Massey would be demoted back after his pit stop. But to be fair, nowhere near as far as we thought. He's come back out in 10th place. And with Healy having pitted, everyone in front of him has pitted in the Evo class. So now he's got work to do from this point onwards. As we also do say hello to the comments there from Captain Find, the 8842 man, as we do see him talking about there, Rosbo, and that's none other, of course, than your driver of, I do believe in terms of his full name there, Gianluca Rosbo, as name just escapes me. I'll get used to remembering in the end, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Rosbo a bit further down at the moment, it would seem. But the final pit stop's coming about then. John Shamblin in. This is the critical one, because this could be for the win in the interclass. Now, he heads on down, Flavin Teffrey a bit behind. There he is on blimp camera. Meanwhile, where's Andruskevicius? And here he is, the SRB Motorsport driver, making his way into a sunset bend. He's looking quite close. I think the Lithuanian may still hold the lead after the pit stops are done, and Jan Lintz is 2.5 seconds back or so. Shamblin still being no. In fact, Shamblin has been serviced here, so he makes his way on down. But as he does so, there is Andruskevicius, and coming in and through, it's going to be Andruskevicius who retakes the lead in the interclass. John Shamblin comes out just behind Jan Lintz. It didn't quite work out for DSC Motorsports, but look how close they've moved him. They've got him within half a second here of Lintz, and with Max Chambers right behind right now, will Chambers act as rear guard here. I suspect his teammate for Shamblin, he'll be trying to hold back Luis da Silva. Hold up a second, there's a car parked up there. You can't park there on the apex of turn number 4. Who's that? I think that's Bruno Key who's parked up. So Key having his race going backwards and not forwards, unfortunately. But right now, for Dynasty Motorsports, they're looking for some good points here. Chambers 7th in the Pro class, so he's going to get a good haul. But Neil Shamblin still trying to chase down that win if he can. Ryan Cassidy, meanwhile, battling with Mark Hutchinson. These two back at each other's throats once again, albeit in a good way. And well, as they come through, this is for 5th place overall and in pro. So they're enjoying a good little ding-dong battle, as here you can see the classifications now with regards to each of the classes where everybody is after their pit stops. So pit stops are one and done. And now it's all going to be about what happens on track to the very end. And one thing that's certain right now, barring a technical issue or a huge error, Philip Ansell seems to be on course to win the Pro class, but victory in the Inter and Evo classes is still very much up for question. Though James Bostock seems to be in control in the Evo class, but it's none other than Andruskevicius, who is under a bit more pressure when it comes to the Inter win by 2 seconds over Jan Lintz. What a race this has been. It's kept us guessing. We really have seen a shuffling of the order, and we've seen several retirements for some big names as well. So Sebring has really set us off on a treat. But here comes Hutchinson looking up the inside, trying to make a move for 5th place. Is he going to be able to get all in? Yes, he is. There, Cassidy has to give him the space. And now making the way out the corner. Actually, for him, Esports drive side by side here as they power their way down. Well, they will have another 4 laps going on to this one. And Cassidy there looking to defend now. Hutchinson going all the way around, giving each other space. They roll the way through Denderby and Ben. Hutchinson trying to carry all that momentum, something the Ford GTE is so strong at doing. Of course, every time he does that, he uses more of the outside tyre. Now onto the outside of turn number 3. Cassidy defending all the way through left, right, left, and Hutchinson tucks back in. There's no way in. As meanwhile, look back to Mark Carlsberg as he chases after Tom Bland, and Bland in front right now with that stop and hold penalty for speeding into the pit lane, down in 9th place of the class, and well just ahead of the 4th place Inter runner at this time. Indeed, you can see there it's Inter followed by Pro, and then another Inter driver as Aramas Zelinskas, or the SRB Motorsport by Lint Vega driver, making sure to act as a little bit of a stoppage there for Flavin Teffrey's progress. He wants to chase down Carlsberg. Understandably, he might be a little bit frustrated at that, as meanwhile, Mikhail Abasek has just had an off track, and Conley 2 is going to take 6th place there in the interclass off of him. How exactly has that changed? We'll find out shortly, as meanwhile, Hutchinson side by side here with Ryan Cassidy, and they're going to go 2 wide all the way through turns 10 through to 13. Hutchinson still on the inside then, in towards Tower Bend. He will take that place back once more, and Cassidy right now absolutely enjoying it. in the battle with the 391 driver. Indeed, these two have got a very good rivalry between them, and this is only round number 1. And right now, they've done enough fighting to go an entire season, let alone an entire race. And the 333 driver here continuing to watch eagerly and see where exactly he can get involved at this time as we ride on board with the Irishman. We're coming out of the corner here into the draft, and right now, building up the speed. What a powerful exit out of that corner. And well, he's going to be so close here. Halfway down the straight, he's going to be close enough to go for battle. In fact, he gives him a little bit of a bump draft there by looks of things. I would say he lifts off the throttle. It's not quite clear, but what is clear, he's now going to go for it into Sunset Bends. Up the inside he goes, and well, these two going back and forth here, absolutely trading this place around as if they're trading shares on the stock market floor. And on to another lap, but Hutchinson now coming back at him here. This is absolutely brilliant racing. Hutchinson trying to go around the outside of Gender B and Ben, much like on the previous laps. This is deja vu, but don't worry, you're not seeing a repeat as they roll the way on through, because Hutchinson a bit further ahead this time on entry, but Cassidy able to get the car together a bit better on exits. Hutchinson runs wide, and he will clear Cassidy in towards turn number 3. But that battle taking a brief pause and brief breather. Meanwhile, back to your Evo leader, James Bostock, and Renee Maurer, the Pro 13th place runner, now splits him and John Becker. Becker all the way back here, 5.5 seconds back. And it seems after the pit stop that Bostock has been able to unlock a bit more pace. I wonder if Bostock really has been holding the pace back over the start of the race, and right now is in control here. And well, we didn't see too many podiums from Bostock last season. When we did, they were very strong ones, and also he was very close to victory on a couple of occasions, but a major instance. But right now, James Bostock could be taking his first GTE win in this championship in his career of the SimRacing International GTE Championship, and I wonder if I'll be able to get an interview with him afterwards, because he did promise me an interview when he finished on the podium, and he said to me afterwards, I'll do it when I take a win, and well, I'll hold him to that, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you may remember that from season 1 all the way back in round number 3, if I remember correctly. Well, we look to Tyres Vosberg meanwhile, and he's in 15th overall. Things not quite going his way for class places, but he has got the company of Flavien Tieffrey behind, and enjoying a little bit of altercation with him. But one of the question marks we do have is what exactly happened to Mikhail Avasek to enable Conley 2 to get past, and here's a replay to explain. So this was Avasek coming out to turn number 1 and up towards 3. Went in towards the braking zone. Something tells me the car's going to go straight here. Yes, it is. It's going to understeer to the grass. He does pinch the barrier there. And unfortunately, the 229 car will not be feeling anywhere near as happy anymore. And that damage actually will hurt the steering on the front right. So that will really hurt on left-hand bends. But we can't dwell on that for too much longer, because we come back to live racing. 5 minutes left to go, and Hutchinson still keeping Rian Cassidy behind for 5th place. These two are really continuing to push the envelope here. This battle absolutely brilliant, and we're coming down towards turn number 1. They've got a bit of traffic in front of them. That is going to be the GPX SimSport car there of Gareth Newton stepping aside. Then it will be Mark Kent's BMW M8 for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. They'll need to step aside very shortly as well. Blue flags will be waving, but remember, these are GT blue flags, not Formula 1 blue flags. So it's the responsibility of the driver who's going to go down the lap to drive predictably and not defend, but they can hold the race in line, and it's the responsibility of the lead lap driver to safely facilitate a pass. So therefore it does mean that Mark Kent, all he needs to do really is just stay where he is, and as soon as you see Hutchinson go side by side with him, that's when he should give up the spot. We'll see whether that's going to work out or not, as these two drivers continue to go back and forth. But making the way onwards, we have had some drama for Pedro Lees to Silva further down the order. In fact, he's dropped down the order from what's 14th place now to 18th. He's been involved in some sort of incident. We will get a replay of that when we can. I'm going to stay with this for now, because Hutchinson has to be the first driver to pass Kent. This is not going to be easy, particularly when you do come through this very tight section of the circuit. Coming into Tower Bend, Hutchinson's going to have to fry it up the inside here, and does so. He passed that test with flying colours. Meanwhile, we do see behind Rian Cassidy now having to try and find his way through. Will be that BMW very quick on acceleration and straight line speed. And Cassidy right now, we know he's going to need to be a little bit aggressive here in towards turn 15. He does exactly that, and he will get through in the end. Both drivers there having to make a bit of a lunge, but both successfully through, and Mark Kent in the end facilitating them as best as possible. So nobody really loses or gains in all of that. But further back, Mikhail Avasek trying to come back at Quantity 2 for 6th place in the Inter category. The Inox Motorsport driver close, but not close enough. And we just see up the road here, Taos at Vosberg, with Flavien Tieffrey gluing himself to the back and hoping that's going to keep him nice and safe. Now, meanwhile, is it safe in 3rd place for your Evo driver of Dwayne Hoffman for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport? He's got Marcus Clayton closing on him at 2 tenths a lap. They've got this lap plus another 2 if my maths is correct. And well, right now, Clayton, if he was to carry on with this pace, well, 1.6 second gap, it wouldn't be enough to be in attacking distance. He would need to find about 3 tenths a lap if he wants the confidence going onto that final lap to be in the tow and potentially have a chance. So Hoffman right now has just got to keep it on track, not make any mistakes, and he could be on course for the theft of the day today with regards to taking that third place on the Evo podium. But still more to come. We look from him, and well, from him we do come all the way back into our driver of none other than John Ludbrook, currently 9th in the pro category, and the GPX Sport driver has had things go just a little bit wrong. Hasn't quite gone right today, but then to be fair, it has been one of those base building days, and I think he'll be looking forward to even more soon. But meanwhile, we come back to Gianluca Rospo, chasing after Mark Kent here for 9th place in the Evo class. Well, your 1-2-2 driver here close, but of course he does have some lap up cars that are trying to put a lap on him coming on through, including none other than Max Chambers there. Chambers flashes his headlights and saying to Rospo, please let me go. Rospo goes to turn in, that's turn number 10, he finds Chambers on the inside, that's going to hurt him a little bit, and being able to chase after Kent for what is a better spot inside the top 10 of the Evo class. So it's not going to work out this time as Jan Lintz will be the next driver, looking to flash his headlights. Rospo a little bit late on the brakes, does tap the rear there of Chambers' car, but outbrakes himself as well. And Gianluca Rospo just making a small mistake, but able to recover well from it, and Andrew follows the long way back, so it will not hurt him too much. Meanwhile, your leader goes on to the final lap today. 31 laps will be the total. And Philip Ansell right now 1 lap away from victory and 11.5 seconds clear from Wilson Liu. He is certainly in control. Tim Perry running in third here. He's in a lonely third place after dropping Joris Petersveen, who you see in the rear of the picture. But the fight for 5th right now still going on. And this is Cassidy back up the inside of Mark Hutchinson. And Rian Cassidy right now absolutely enjoying himself. You can see the white flag waving briefly there. Barney the flag bearer as they come on down. Well, right now these two, we don't want this battle to end, but it's going to have to end at some point here. Someone's going to have to win the battle for 5th place. You would think they were battling for the win given how hard they're racing each other, but they're keeping it fair. But Hutchinson defends on the inside this time, and it is Cassidy trying to go round the outside. Well, in that Porsche, he does not seem to have as much confidence as Mark's what is GTE there, and that's where Rian is falling down a little bit. We can see the difference in the cars. The Porsche so much better on braking and on low speed corner entry. Meanwhile, the Ford GT so much stronger and medium to high speed corners, but they're so equal, these two different machines, and really extracting the strengths and weaknesses out of these cars. It's an incredible battle, and one of the stories of the day. It could be one of the stories of the season, this. But making the way out of the hairpin right now, Hutchinson okay. And well, that Ford GTE able to match the Porsche with regards to acceleration initially, and then able to outrun it a little bit. He's still got a few more corners to go. In terms of those other battles out there, Mikhail Avasek still 4 tenths behind Quanley 2. We're keeping an eye on that off the camera. I'll let you know if anything changes there, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, Hutchinson still holding on with Cassidy looking close in South Bend, but that's not going to work for him. Going towards Le Mans. Well, as they make the way down through Bishop towards Le Mans, we must come back to your leader because he makes his way through the final corner. For Philip Ansell, it was pole position today by a comfortable margin, and he's never let it go other than in the pits. And for Philip Ansell, it's a debut. It's a dream debut at that, because with Cuda Motorsport, it is victory overall and in the pro class there for the smiling Swede in his Porsche 911 RSR. And Wilson Liu, well, in the end, he managed to outlast Tom Bland, making sure that he did not fall foul of what was speed in the pit lane. And Liu takes the run-out spot here for We Pay 300 Esports ahead of Tim Perry, who for Altitude 3M Esports rounds off your top 3. In 4th place behind him, Joris Petersveen, who tried to stay with him over the race distance but couldn't quite get the job done. He'll take 4th place there, the privateer, and then we will see Mark Hutchinson come on through. He will take 5th. The Ford GT drive putting together a brilliant drive and beating Rian Cassidy to the line. And then it will be Vidas Andrzejewicz who will come on through in the end for SRB Motorsport to bring on home what will be the inter-win now on his debut. And behind the Lithuanian driver will be Max Chambers, and then Jan Lintz, the run-up in Interclass in 9th, with Tom Bland in 10th ahead of Jordan Shamblin, who makes an inter-podium on his return to the grid today, with Almas Zelinskas in 12th, and then Mark Kalsberg in 4th place, the Inter, 13th overall ahead of Flavian Tiefri to complete the class's top 5. But what's this, ladies and gentlemen, as he makes his way down the back straight? Well, I'll tell you one thing right now, he's in control here, and in 23rd place right now, the GPX Sport driver, he's going to realise something that escaped him on 5 occasions in Season 1, in what was then the Interclass, but now the Evo class, because James Bostock will take his first ever GTE class win here today, and what a victory it is for him in the Evo category. Renee Maurer in 24th behind, and then John Becker on his debut for Valiant Racing Team will take the runner-up spot spot in Evo, with Davidas Laminonis in 26th behind, and Dwayne Hoffman with a strategic masterclass steals away third place on the Evo podium there for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, making sure they take at least one podium today, with Marcus Clayton just behind there on a brilliant drive of his own for Rhino Esports for Edge Overlays, and then Max Wheeler and Brian Beardsworth will complete your top 30, with Beardsworth there 5th of your Evo drivers, wondering where exactly it all went wrong, and the answer is it all went wrong in the pit lane. As all of our drivers cool them down, one absolutely brilliant race today, no doubt about it. And to give you an update on what was Gianluca Rospo's chaser, Mark Kent, unfortunately couldn't quite find a way into 9th place in the Evo class, but he did a brilliant job to take 10th place there for the Div Motorsport team. And we look forward to seeing how the Italian grows over the season with that 38th place overall. But everyone has seen their checker flag, whether on the lead lap or a lap down. And as all our drivers gradually cool them down, ladies and gentlemen, well, we better cool them down by taking you to the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, but not without looking at the SRB Motorsport drivers there, and Vidas Andrews Kevicius definitely today in control of the interclass there, as we do have somebody doing donuts. That's going to get a little bit worrisome, but then he's able to take evasive action. His teammates are not, but definitely the SRB Motorsport teams enjoying a good debut on the grid, and we look forward to plenty more from them as the season goes on, as we do look to the scenic view. So here are those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries from today. And we'll start off with the overall positions before we do come on to the classes. Philip Ansell, your winner for GTE Motorsport, overall there by 14.1 seconds, and taking the pro win with it, ahead of Wilson Liu. The WePay 300 Esports driver enjoyed an absolutely brilliant race-long battle till the pit stops with Tom Bland, but it was speed in the pit lane for Tom Bland that separated the two of them, and the Chinese driver was able to take home the second place spot. Tim Perry completed the podium there. As a result, the Altitude 3M Esports team lost one podium finisher, but gained another instead, and Joris Petersveen was full place there, the privateer from the Netherlands, enjoying a very solid effort. Mark Hutchinson took 5th place, just behind him for Altitude 3M Esports, but really his story was the battle for 5th with Ryan Cassidy, the team Endurotech driver, enjoying such a brilliant battle, and I think that's going to be the start of something special between the two of them all season long. In 7th, it was your Inter winner of Vidas Andrews Kevicius, the SRB Motorsport driver there, taking that win in the 293. The Porsche driver absolutely ecstatic about that, head of Max Chambers of Dynasty Motorsports, who in the end acted a bit of rear guard for John Shamblin, but Shamblin lost out as Chambers came forward in the final stint. Jan Lintz was runner-up in the interclass there for Gazik's racing team by a whole second ahead of Tom Bland, and the Altitude 3M Esports driver completing that top 10. There was John Shamblin in 11th place, best of the rest, but most importantly 3rd on the Inter-podium for Dynasty Motorsports, ahead of Aramas Zelinskas, and the SRB Motorsport by Lint Vega driver, then ahead of Mark Colesbert and Flavien Tieffry and Torres Vosberg, who completed your top 15. Behind the Valent Racing team and SRB Motorsport drivers, it was then Mikhail Abasek, David Payne, Quanley 2, Pedro Liz da Silva and John Ludbrook who completed your top 20. And looking outside the top 20, well, you have to go to Kai Hitchler and Justin Noel before you do get to your Evo class winner, James Bostock, taking that win in the end and doing so for GPX Simsport, both on pace and also on strategy. Rene Maurer separated him from John Becker, the runner-up in the Evo class, and Becker in the end for Valent Racing team enjoying a very good start to his season on his debut, and then it was in 26th Davidas Laminonis, the SRB Motorsport by Lint Vega driver, not being able to show his pace today in the pro class due to an early incident, but Dwayne Hoffman definitely showing his smarts in his BMW M8, taking up the 3rd place spot on the Evo podium. Behind the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport drive, it was then Marcus Clayton, not too far adrift, Max Wheeler and Brian Beardsworth to complete your top 30, and outside the top 30, we saw Isaac Fairweather, the last driver to finish on the lead lap, and it was a lap down for Patrick Dean, as it was for Christophe Dubois, Nathan Healy, Matthew Massey, Gareth Newton, Mark Kent, Gianluca Rospo, Andrew Fellows, Chad Henson, who was 2 laps down, and we also did see was 2 laps down there for Olivia Grenier, ahead of Mikel Salcuni, and we also did see a 2-lap down finish for Jaden Innes. We did have retirements, however, for Oliver Kemp, Bruno Key, Craig Tillotson, Kevin Smith, Gavin Corby, Marinko Jornowski, Matthias Pettinger, and the biggest loss of them all, of course, at the start of the race, Mirko Bortolotti with the opening lap incident. Those are the overall finishing positions. What about in the classes? We begin then with what is none other than your pro class. And here we can see, after a brilliant race-long run, Philip Ansell, your winner in the end, taking the maximum points for GTE Motorsport by 14 seconds over Wilson Liu, and then Tim Perry behind the WePay 300 Esports drive by a further 5.5 seconds, rounding off that podium for Altitude 3M Esports. Joris Peters' team, not on the podium today, but we'll be very happy with a top 5 to start off the season. Much better fortune compared to the last season, and he was ahead of Mark Hutchinson there by what was the best part of 8 seconds. But to be fair, Hutchinson would have been with him if he didn't have the company of Ryan Cassidy, who he enjoyed that brilliant race-long battle with, and Cassidy losing out in the end for Team Endurotech, but the two separated by 3 tenths at the line. Max Chambers was 7th ahead of Tom Bland, the Disney Motorsports driver being able to benefit from the speeding penalty for Tom Bland in the pit lane, and the Altitude 3M Esports driver will be slapping himself silly with regards to the fact that he will not be wanting to make that mistake ever again, as it cost him the chance at the podium today. Aramas Zelinskas finishing in 9th there for SLB Motorsport by Lint Vega, 6 seconds ahead of the sister team driver of Taurus Vosberg. Both of them not quite getting the chance to show what they could do today, and be hoping for more next time out, but both taking top 10 finishing positions. It was Pedro Luis da Silva who was best the rest of the 11th for GPX Simsport, albeit a couple of altercations and an off-track definitely relegated him outside the top 10. Kai Hitchler, unfortunately, being caught up in the open lap incident, but he was able to recover quite well there for Leopard Esports, ahead of his teammate of Rene Maurer, and then we did see Devidas Lorenonis ahead of Max Wheeler completing the top 15. Behind the three-wheeler racing driver was Isaac Fairweather, who was the last lead lap finisher for Cuda Motorsport, ahead of lap down Christophe Dubois, and well, unfortunate for the live sim racing driver, his suspension collapsing after some earlier damage. It collapsed on the concrete coming out of Sunset Bend, and he had to tow to the pit lane, but he was ahead of 2 lap down finisher Chad Henson, and then we did see retirements from Marinko Jornowski and Mirko Bortolotti. Meanwhile, in the Inter category, the second of our categories, we got to see what was a brilliant performance there from none other than Vidas Andriuskevicius, the SLB Motorsport driver, taking the victory by almost 3 seconds over Jan Lintz, who kept him honest every step of the way for Kazakh's racing team. John Shamlin completed that podium, tried to beat them on strategy by going the longest of everybody in the Inter class, but couldn't quite do it, so he had to settle for 3rd, but the Disney Motorsports driver was 5 seconds clear of Mark Carlsbert. The Cuda Academy driver was ahead of Flavin Tiefri, the Valent Racing Team driver, who was only 2 seconds behind, and it was a further, what was 9 seconds to Mikhail Abasek in 6th place there for Inox Motorsport. David Payne took 7th ahead of Quanley 2 with the WePay 300 Esports driver, and then able to hold off the charge of many a driver behind, including John Ludbrook and Justin Noel, and that was your top 10. And from the privateer, it was a fellow privateer, Patrick Dane, who finished a lap down in 11th place. And then we did see the last of the fish there, Olivia Grenier in 12th, 2 laps down for live sim racing. Sadly, lost to retirements, Oliver Kemp, Kevin Smith and Matthias Pettinger. And then we did see in the Evo class, last but by no means least, well, none other there than James Bostock, taking his first GTE Championship win in class in the Evo category today for GPX Simsport. Head of John Becker for Valent Racing Team, and Dwayne Hoffman at 3rd there, completing the podium. Bostock getting it done on strategy and consistency, Becker getting it done on pace, and Hoffman getting it done, definitely being by the smartest on fuel saving. The full tilt virtual motorsport driver really surprising everybody, none more so than Marcus Clayton, who in the end was 2 seconds behind. From the Verano Esport for Edge Overlays drive, it was a further 4 seconds to Brian Beardsworth, who had an extended pit stop for a tyre change, and therefore that cost him the chance for a podium for GPX Simsport. And there was a lap down to Nathan Heaney in 6th for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, who held off Matthew Massey. The Spectre Racing driver then coming through to 7th place. I do apologise for my prediction he would not finish towards 7th, but he definitely did make his way up there in the end. And Gareth Newton for GPX Simsport in 8th place just behind. Mark Kent for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport was able to hold off Jean-Luc Rospo, who definitely chased him down but couldn't quite find the place at the end, and that was your top 10. And when the Dib Motorsport driver in 11th, it was Andrew Fellows, but he had to go 2 laps down to Mikhail Salkuni, the Verano Esport driver in 12th place, and it was also 2 laps down to Jaden Innes, the Canadian, for Cuda Motorsport. Sadly, it was retirements for Bruno Key, Craig Tillotson and Garen Corby, but expect plenty more of them in the rounds to come. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's a rundown of those race results, and we're now going to take a brief breather, because whilst our racing has concluded, this broadcast does not. Coming up next in approximately 5 minutes time, we are of course going to bring you none other than what will be interviews with our drivers. And I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, we've been hearing some absolutely brilliant scores of racing action today, but what will really cap off this broadcast, indeed our opening round of the season, would be to be able to hear from all those drivers who've got the time to volunteer. So without further ado, let's get set for those interviews. We'll be back in approximately 5 minutes time. And it's lights out and away we go for our season opener as Sardply gets a good start, but look alongside him and you'll see there Milton Tomlinson Dennis immediately go on the attack into the braking zone. 1 drive into the grass already, that's Mikey Story, but 3 wide they come into the opening corner. That's a bold move there. William Humphrey makes the place as they make the way through in towards turn number 2. I think the Altitude 3M Esports driver here might just be fancying his chances once again as they come into the braking zone now for turn number 1, and as they make the way from right into left, well, Hayden Miller here side by side with him. They'll go all the way through to turn number 3, and And Saunders does take the place there. That's for overall position, not for pro position. Saunders is the pro leader, but he goes a bit deep there in 3. To the inside of 4 then. And Miller right now enjoying this. Saunders enjoying it. A little bit of rub and contact between the two of them, but nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind between the two Ford, for the Ford and the Corvettes, the two Americans I should say. And
with those two Evo drivers in front of them, they're just, you know, they're realistically in a completely different race. They're just a barrier up towards the likes of Rubino and Wendell. Oh, there's Rubino going off the road, and here comes James Bostock, past 1, past 2. This is a great little move from James.
Oh, and look behind him as well. Hardiak, sorry, up high. He decides to come back down low. But Denny Plurger has really lost a lot of ground here. He's lost 7 places since the start of this race in that green Porsche. But look at this, for the lead. Hammond wants it. He's gone back down the inside. He got off the brakes again to let the car down the inside of Rob Mackay. And you said Rob was going to be clinging on at the front. And now he's clinging on to second. Great move by Lewis Hammond. Really good committed stuff. And look, down the inside, Richard White. He wants a piece of this in the Porsche. He's got James Bostock.
And it's lights out and away we go here as Mirko Bortolotti goes exactly on the green, and as they roar the way down towards turn number 1, Martin Statman side by side with him, but look behind, Tim Perry under pressure and Miguel Leon immediately as the Enosis Esports driver tries to put the pressure on. Further back we've got 3, 4 wide, they're all in the crush as they come through the opening bay. Look back for the rear of your second place runner Statman, and Statman right now for the Gazex Racing team. What he's trying to do here, I think now, is just hold on to second, and if needed, he may have to act as a bit of a buffer and perhaps sacrifice a little bit of his race for the race leader here. Although Bortolotti, to be fair, I think might be holding some pace back, but here comes Lux in the tow, in towards what we roller coaster they come with the Virginian corkscrew. It's left into right very quickly here as they both make the way, and it's too wide on entry, but Lux gets ahead. It's up into second now, as it will be Martin Statman falling down to third, but Callum Lux does clear another one, and now only one car is between him and an opportunity of victory here tonight. Which is Perry going to make the move, or I'm going to have to make the move for him? Well, there's your answer. Perry's going to go on the inside here of Dean into the braking zone. Edwards gets to watch it from the popcorn seat view. Perry there being too wide on exit. Dean's going to try and hang around the outside. Does Edwards think about going up the inside as well? He gets himself ready for it in case there's contact, but there's not. Perry there being fair. Dean tucks back in behind. Lovely move there from Tim Perry. And I think meanwhile Beardsworth will hope they don't get close up in time as Beardsworth's going to look up the inside. He goes all in, and it's from very far back. He gets it stopped, however, and Beardsworth there nails the move, but Tillerson's going to come back at him up the hill. Does he go in on the brakes here? This is bold to do it on the inside. No, he does not. And Brian Beardsworth in the end, he gets it wrong. He goes out wide at turn number 6. Tillerson's going to be too wide with him, but too wide they're going to turn 7. Tillerson goes on the switch back there. 9 is no way through, and in the end they come down towards turn number 8. Well, there Tillerson backs off. He lets Hutchinson go around the outside, but is it the right call? And well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get our first interviews of the season underway. And what better way to do so than to come to our driver who led most of the laps today and took overall and pro victory, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than Philip Ansell. Good evening to you, Philip. And well, what a way to make your debut by starting off with a win overall in pro. A brilliant drive from you, sir. How was it for you?
It was always hectic. I mean, starting off, first of all, with my teammate not even making the grid, so that already didn't start off on the best foot, I would say. But no, I held the lead into turn 1, thankfully, and then from there on, it was just about managing the gap. Thankfully, the guys behind started battling, so I could get out of the tow, and then just from there on, it was just managing until the end, I would say. So no, I couldn't have started off in a better way, I'll have to say. But no, I'm very pleased with it. So good points for the championship, and obviously can't get much better than a win in the fastest lap.
Oh, 100%. And just on the point, of course, like you say, it was meant to be yourself and Isaac Fairweather, I believe, on the front row together. What happened to Isaac?
Well, the full story is we both went for a quick pit stop at the toilet. One of us made it back. One of us missed it by 5 seconds. So there is a bit of work there to do between us, I think, for next week at Imola. So maybe I took the slow down penalty and cut the corner a bit to quickly get back to my rig quicker than him. But it is what it is. We've got a drop round, thankfully, in this championship. So from here on, I think we'll take this as a learning experience, I would say.
Oh, fair play. And, well, with that in mind, a bit of a learning experience and indeed your teammate getting bogged down, but we won't make any more toilet jokes out of that. Car choice for this season, the Porsche 911. Is it a car that you wanted to go with, or was it perhaps mandated as a result of teammates, balance of performance? What made you pick it?
No, well, basically, I haven't driven that much GT. It's basically only for this championship that I've decided to pick it up. I had some teammates, some mates try it out, and thought, well, it was great now with the new iRacing tyre update because the car feels absolutely amazing to drive now. No, I mean, it was basically a case of trying the BMW and the Porsche, and out of the two, felt, especially here for Sebring, that the Porsche just had a bit of an edge over the BMW. So, and then I just had to force everyone else to buy it as well. So for the moment, they're following what I have to say, and it definitely paid off tonight, I'll have to say. But it's going to be interesting, though, of course, because there is a bit of a difference between the cars. The Fords are going to be very, very powerful on the straight line dependent tracks. So it's just going to be a case of maximizing points where the Porsche is strong, I think.
Oh, 100%. And we look forward to seeing you really maximise the Porsche strengths and mitigate its weaknesses. And with regards to the qualifying lap itself, I mean, a monstrous qualifying lap in the end, taking pole position by, I believe, I just double-checked the records today, by almost 2 attempts over your teammate, and then a further half attempt to Wilson Liu in third. Were you surprised with your qualifying performance, or were you expecting to be on top?
No, I mean, I know that there are some really quick drivers in this championship, so I'm definitely did not take it for granted. I mean, you can only learn so much by practicing yourself and practicing with your teammates. But no, we executed it pretty well, just getting a clean-ish lap. And then I was a bit lucky to pick up a slight toe at the end that gave me about half a tenth. But then, of course, I lost another half tenth in the last corner then. And then I just helped my teammate a little bit to get up on the front row, which, well, in hindsight, I mean, didn't really work out that well. But no, of course, you can't expect to get pole position when you've got the likes of Mirko Bortolotti on your grid. So no, definitely a little bit of a surprise, but no, we'll just keep it on the chin, stay humble. You know, it's a long championship. A lot of things can happen. And today, you know, it went in my favour.
Oh, most definitely. But I do like the way you're already putting a perspective on the championship and, like you say, staying humble. So looking ahead, perhaps, to the rounds that lie in wait, where can we perhaps expect you to be even stronger or as strong as you were today?
Good question. I've even forgotten what the next round, of course, is at Imola. It's a good track. It's quite similar to what we had here at Sebring tonight with, you know, it's very technical. So it's a track that has suited me in the past, so we'll see how much it suits me here. I mean, of course, Daytona is a favorite of mine as well, but with the toe that you have in these GTs, it's anyone's race, to be honest.
Oh, indeed, a good point. Slipstream will be a big factor there, but we look forward to seeing you rise to the challenge to each and every round. And as we do get ready to let you go and let you celebrate your win with your teammates, just a bit of background on Coup de Motorsport. I mean, it's an interesting name there. We normally think of, say, a coup d'etat, for example. Is it a bit of a spin on that?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's it's actually a fun story because it started off with a racing league that we all were involved in the F1 game, and then some of us, or some of the people, decided to basically create a coup from it. Didn't want to stay in it anymore, and then they created Coup the Motorsport, and from there on, you know, the name stuck with it. So yeah, that's basically it, really.
Oh, I love it. Well, to be fair, we look forward to seeing whether you guys can perform a coup of your own over the course of the season and steal away the championship glory. But just as we do get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
I mean, of course, my teammates that did the job. They helped us. We all help each other prepare for the races. And then shout out to our team manager, Jacob Jenner. Definitely does not pay me a single penny for this, but I'll give him some credit for it.
Well, I'm sure he'll appreciate the shout out. But with that, Philip, it has been a blast chatting to you as our first interview of the season. A brilliant drive to overall and pro victory, a dominant one at that. We look forward to plenty more, including at Imola next time out. But until then, have a great rest of your evening and well done on your maiden win of the season.
Thank you very much, Paul.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Coup de Motorsports, Philip Antoine. An interesting story there about the team name really forming as a result of a breakaway from an existing SimRacing Series. Well, there's always an interesting name behind a team name, no doubt about it. And that's got to be one of the most interesting ones I've heard, where the team name literally living up to its history in a way. But history aside, he's definitely made history here today in the fact taking such a controlled win and surprised himself a little bit with regards to the margin he won by, given how stacked the grid is in the pro class. But in qualifying, we saw his strengths for the Porsche, a car that he's decided to go with, that car he enjoys and really feels though has come alive as a result of the physics and tyre model change to the GTE. And we're expecting it's not going to be all sunshine over the course of the season, but looking forward to Imola next week and seeing what the Porsche can do there. So Philip Ansel has definitely set the stage for everyone else to try and perform on it, but indeed he may just be one step ahead and he might be controlling the strings behind. We'll have to wait and see. And also, unfortunately, of course, was the toilet break a bit too long for his teammate of Isaac Fairweather? Otherwise, it would have been a big question as to how far he could have gone as well, and whether we could have seen a 1-2 for the team. But still, there's another 9 rounds to go, and they'll be looking to work on that in the weeks to come. But with that, we've got more interviews to come, ladies and gentlemen. It's on to our second interview of the day very shortly. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, he promised me an interview when he did take his first win, and he joins me now in the interview room. It's none other than our Evo winner today of James Bostock. James, it's been an interview that's been a long time coming and a win that's been a long time coming. You missed it on several occasions last season due to sheer bad luck, but you finally got it done. How does it feel to take your first GTE win?
Exhausted, Paul, to be honest. So yeah, no, really enjoyable race and totally unexpected as well. So unfortunately didn't have any time to put any practice in, as I think you know that we've been a bit busy today doing graphics and liveries and all sorts. But no, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm really surprised as well. I didn't think that was ever going to come, but yeah, bang on.
Well, it's finally come, and whilst you may not have been able to put the practice in today, it definitely seems as though you're quite comfortable in this Porsche 911. What's made you switch to it from the BMW?
Probably peer pressure from John Ludbrook, really. Last season, as you know, I switched a couple of times. Went into the Corvette first and then into the BMW, thinking it was going to be a good idea, which turned out to be a bit of a disaster. But no, John and Pedro were dead set on the Porsche, so I always kind of chop and change, and then at the last minute go to the Porsche anyway. So this time I thought, right, we'll stay in it from the beginning, and yeah, it felt absolutely spot on. So yeah, a bit of peer pressure, Paul. That's what caused it.
Oh, I love it. A good old bit of peer pressure, but it's got the job done. Now, in qualifying itself, very interesting qualifying session. Third in class, 38 overall. There was quite a bit of a gap to the pole sitter in the end. Were you happy with where you qualified, or do you think that there was more time out there?
Yeah, I think I put my first lap in probably on lap 2, and then I couldn't improve on it for about 20 odd minutes, and I saw Brian had put an immense lap in, and I just thought, right, we'll just aim to finish. That was the aim. And then kind of, I think once I stopped overdriving and actually relaxed a little bit, all of a sudden I found a bit of an improved lap that I think put me second behind Brian at one point, and then somebody got in between us. But yeah, I had zero expectations to start with, but I think rather than the quali, I think the biggest bit of luck was the incidents on the first lap, just kind of like Moses parting the sea, really. I managed to squeeze through relatively unhindered, and then all of a sudden I was sat behind, I think it might be Justin Noel I was sat behind, and you know, I thought, well, I'll just kind of stay here and then let people back through if they're not in my class safely. So yeah, not a bad quali, can't complain, but certainly lap 1 was better than the quali, that's for sure.
Oh, indeed, and that naturally does bring us on to the start race. Like you say, a bit of a Moses moment where the seas parted for you and you took the lead in the class. And just coming on to that point about pace and getting settled, we did see in the first 10 to 15 minutes, once everything had settled down, it was the situation whereby Brian Beardsworth, also Dwayne Hoffman, Marcus Clayton, they all started to catch up to you. And then suddenly you started to match their pace. Was that part of the plan, or were you just feeling more confident in the car as you went on?
I don't know. I was just making it up as I went along, lap by lap. I could see Brian. I let John pass because John's just had so much pace for this season in this car, and especially this track. So I coordinated with John to let him pass, and then I could see Brian behind me, and I thought probably I'm going to have to let him through as well at some point safely. And then every lap that went by lap, I kind of got a bit more comfortable. And then I think Brian must have had a bit of an incident because the gap increased. I think there was a couple of pro drivers that were making their way through after the incident. And then the next thing, I think it was Becker, if I'm getting his name right. Apologies if I don't. But yeah, he kind of closed up on me. And from then on in, I was just concentrating. I thought, well, if he gets anywhere near me, I wasn't going to fight him. And then I think he had a bit of a glitch in the pit stop. I think he missed his marker. We both came in together, and then I was 4 seconds ahead when we came out, and I thought, okay, like maybe. And then he was still loads quicker. I think it was about 2 seconds at the end, but I was just trying not to make a mistake, really. So.
Well, to be fair, you were faultless all the way to the end, and it has netted you your first win. I mean, I can imagine that final lap must have felt quite special in a way, feeling to yourself, pinch me at every corner, this can't be happening.
Special wasn't the word that I would have used while I was driving it. I thought we were on the last lap, the lap before. And when I came across the line and there was no white flag, I thought, oh, here we go. So I've got 2 more laps, and you kind of just, I don't know, probably tyres were going off as well. So, it was a bit of a stressful last lap, but then I think he made a bit of a mistake, and then the gap increased again, so it kind of relaxed a little bit. So, yeah, I'm well chuffed with that, really am.
Oh, brilliant. Well, a first win on the board. It may not have been expected, but to be fair, you've delivered it. You've finally broken that duck that's been in the way for some time. So the question is, what's next at Imola? Can we expect you to make it 2 from 2?
Probably not, although I may get a chance to do a little bit more practice for next week, and I do like Imola a lot, but I've never driven it in this car, so I'll just be happy to be anywhere in the top 5. I know we're in the Evo class, which is the kind of slower of the 3 groups, but all of the other drivers in Evo are absolutely, on pace. I've not got a particularly high I rating, as my teammates remind me quite often. But yeah, so look, I'd just be happy to be in the battle for top 5. That would be awesome. Or not DNF, based on my results last season, which was either 3rd or DNF every single round.
Oh, very true. I do love the targets you set yourself there, and I think that's a sensible set of targets to have. And we'll just as we get ready to let you go and let you celebrate the win with your teammates, James, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
There is, Paul. There's kind of loads of people, really, because being one of the series admins, it's you don't often get a chance to say a few words of thanks. But yeah, I have got to thank yourself, Jack, Nathan, Rob Mackay, Glassy, everybody for doing their bit that helps the league run. All the drivers that have joined us in this season, both in GT3 Thursdays, GT3 Sundays, GTE Fridays, to have 3 sellout championships is just absolutely unbelievable. And last but by no means least, my teammates in GPX. So we've got a couple of new guys joining us for this season 3, Brian, Joris, and another name escapes me, Clyde, who's joining us soon. They're all absolutely brilliant to race with. We don't take it too serious, and the banter's amazing. But special shout out to John Ludbrook, because since he joined the GTEs, he's just been absolutely rapid. So I'm really, really chuffed for John. So yeah, big shout out to him, and then yourself, of course, for the awesome broadcast. I'm looking forward to watch it back.
Well, James, we need to give a big thank you to you, not just for joining me for an interview this evening. I mean, we've been waiting for it, but it's been worth the wait for so long, but also for us giving us an absolutely brilliant demonstration today, how keeping your head nice and cool can lead you to victory. Well done on the win, and we look forward to plenty more as the season goes on. But until then, savour it, enjoy it, and have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks a lot, and you too.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from GPX SimSports, James Bostock there, absolutely pleased as punch with what he's been able to achieve today, and you can understand why, because as he mentioned there, alluded to, Season 1 was either third place or no place. It was a non-finish in most races where it was all going wrong, and most of the time when he did retire, it was from the lead of the class. So it really was a very interesting season, a bit of a heartbreaking one, but here today, well, the seas parted around him after a decent qualifying session when he went green flag racing, and after that, never let it go. I mentioned the fact he was more focused on just keeping the car on the road and not making mistakes. And to be fair, sometimes that's what you've got to do to take a win, is not think about everybody else, just think about what you can do yourself, and also let your rivals go on through in other classes so they don't impede you. And did that, nailed up the pit stops as well, and put in what was the slower pit stop for John Becker and Brian Beardsworth down. So actually some errors in the pit box, it sounds as though. But meanwhile, he got it absolutely right in the pit and could not be caught over the distance, even when he wasn't the quickest. Well, he's going to be targeting top 5 throughout the season and finishing the races, and I look forward to seeing how he gets some of that. I'm sure we can all look forward to seeing how far he's going to go. But this is the marker he's laid down. Bostock's definitely set the tempo quite high for the rest of the Evo class. But we've got a couple more interviews still to come, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we're making our way, I do believe, back to the pros. And so, for our third interview of the day, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now in the interview room is none other than We Pay 300 Esports' Wilson Liu. Wilson, good morning to you. I do believe, based on where you are in the world, what a day for yourself. Second place overall and a brilliant battle with Tom Bland.
Well, it's amazing overall. I mean, I didn't expect to have a strong pace around Sebring, especially in the GTE. It's pretty much my first GTE race. Throughout my iRacing career, I've never done it. It's my first time. And I mean, it's a great battle with Tom. I was trying to stay behind him to do a few saving, but I do see him to make a mistake at turn left 3. So I decided to send it inside, maybe like turn 3 around there to take the lead from him and start chasing to P1, but unfortunately we don't have the pace to chase it, so trying to do the save fuel all over, and apparently he was doing the same thing, staying behind me, so yep, it didn't cost so much time to fight behind.
I see, and well, it's interesting both of you having a similar strategy, and we'll come back to that shortly. With regards to your car choice, given you're new to racing GTEs, why the Porsche?
Before the race, I have tried the BMW, the Corvette, and also the Porsche. And out of all 3 cars, I think the Porsche would be the perfect choice for me. The car responds very, very fast, very like on the spot when it comes to turn, like fast corners, slow corners, mid-speed corners. It's just perfect for my driving style.
Oh, fair play. Go with what you feel comfortable with. Makes sense then. You definitely look good in the car out there. And coming back to the race itself, of course, yourself and Tom very close together on the first stint. In the pit stops, however, you got it right in the pits. Meanwhile, he picked up was a stop and hold penalty. Did you notice that had happened, or was that something you only spotted after you came out the pit lane?
Yeah, I did spot it because I have the overlay showing that he's got the black flag. I'm like, okay, so he got over the pit limiter at the pit entry, so I was like, okay, then I'll take the second place, but I'm definitely not. If he didn't take that penalty, I'm sure that I may not finish P2.
Well, it was a good battle, and unfortunate penalty for him, but it meant you were able to take the runner-up spot. And looking ahead for the rest of the season, are there any particular circuits beyond Sebring today where you really fancy your chances or feel as though that's my favourite circuit?
Whew. Well, I think it's really hard to say. Let's see. I think Spa would be the best one. Would be my favorite one. I don't think that I have the strongest pace around that circuit because it's like the most popular circuit on the sim in real life. People drive over 1,000 laps around the circuit. So yeah, I'll pick that as my favorite, but may not have the strongest pace, but I'll try my best.
Oh, fair play to you. And well, we look forward to seeing what you can do at Spa. And looking to sort of your wider sim race, if you will, if this is your first time out in GTE, what category do you normally race?
I normally race LMP2 for most of the time, but starting last season, I started race Porsche Cup and GT3s, and I've been mainly like doing GT3s last week around Sebring. I think that also helped me a lot to drive in the GT in like around Sebring because it's pretty much similar braking points and how to handle every single corner. Yep.
Oh, fair play. Well, using that experience, no doubt, in the car today. And as we do get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast today?
I think Tom, he's a really great driver, strong pace, and move very clean, fairly play for him. And yeah, and also the P1, the win of the pro class. My God, strong pace, can't catch up. I couldn't even catch up with the draft in front of me. So but it's a great race overall with everybody. Yep.
Oh, fair play, Wilson. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview room and great to talk to you about your second place finish today. Well deserved, and we look forward to plenty more as the season goes on. But until then, congratulations once again on your podium, and we will see you at Imola.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Wilson the U, very happily talking about his battle back and forth with Tom Bland, and really mentioned there the fact that both drivers wanted to go through the fuel-saving approach. Wilson's approach was that essentially he would try and hold position and just save fuel, and after he got ahead of Tom and realising that the Altitude Frame Esports driver was just going to sit behind him, they were both aligned. But he also spotted, through the overlay software he was running, that Tom had picked up the penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and therefore it's pretty much settled for second. But interesting there that he didn't fancy his chances in the battle in the second stint for holding on necessarily. Now, I think that might be was a little bit of honesty there, and also perhaps just being a bit modest, because he definitely did a brilliant job today in the battle, much like Tom did, and I think they're going to have a bit of a rivalry. But also mention the fact that Philip Ansell was in a little bit of a different postcode pace today, but looking forward to the rounds ahead, and particularly to the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, and seeing what he can deliver there. And we look forward to seeing how a WePay 300 esports driver, who's new to GTEs with an LMP2, a GT3, and a Porsche Cup background, is going to be able to rise to the challenge. So I suspect if he's able to learn these cars quite quickly, he's going to be a formidable foe as the season goes on. But with that, ladies and gents, we've got one more interview to come. And, well, we're going to step back to the Evo class once again. But who exactly is it going to be with? We'll just have to wait a moment and you'll find out. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring to you our final interview of the day today. Because joining me now in the Evo class interview room, it's Full Tilt Virtual Motorsports, Dr. Dwayne Hoffman. Dwayne, good evening to you, or afternoon I should say, given the time in the US of A. What a day for yourself. Third place there, and you stole it away with consistency and strategy.
So, greetings everyone from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, Sim Magic, Rock Solid Rigs, Phoenix 10 livery design, BMW M8. Yes, say that 3 times fast. We had a car that we knew would race well. We knew it would not qualify well. And Gunther and Phoebe really worked up a very good setup for when the track got really greasy. So, lap 2, John and I had about 1/3 to 1/2 a meter of net code. And from that point, I just put my head down and went. You were absolutely dead right. I did race the smartest today. got the strategy correct on the pitting. Marcus and I just absolutely slogged it out for a good half hour. And yeah, I'm a little bit emotional. This is the first time in any SRI event that I've been on a podium of anything. So, a really, really good day.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm glad that I could be interviewing you with your first podium in a SimRacing International event. And obviously, you've gone with the BMW for this season. What motivated that choice?
Well, it's actually very simple, Paul. Volto Virtual Motorsport has always had an ethos of we race the underappreciated car. So, as you know, in SRI GT3, we broke out the Lambo. We were the only team racing the Lambo last season. And it kind of caught on. There were a few Lambos showing up at the end of the season. So Nathan, Mark, and I, we looked at it, and it was about a 20-second discussion of we're going to race the underappreciated car. That's the M8 because it's front engine. And it was pretty much straightforward from that point.
Oh, I love it. I always love it when teams and drivers go for the underdog car, the underappreciated one, like you say. Always a bit of car variety. And as you alluded to only moments ago, you had the race pace and a car that definitely was going to be good on the strategy, less so in qualifying. So with the 44th overall, the 9th in the Evo class, were you still happy with where you qualified? Or did you think, whilst you weren't expecting to have good qualifying pace, you could have perhaps been further up the starting order?
Oh, I wasn't worried at all because I was racing at home. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. Sebring is my hometown circuit. I have raced there in real life. I have a tremendous record around Sebring in iRacing. I have 2 top 5s in GT3, a podium in LMP2, all in the 12 hours of Sebring. I knew what I had. I simply had to avoid the first 2 laps because the M8 around at Sebring needs a lap and a half to get heat in the tires so that the pressures can finally come up. And so I was not bothered one iota. I knew what I had. Phoebe really found a great spring configuration to allow the car not to be a pogo stick, but to be much more smooth over the bumps as if it was hugging the bumps. And here we are, happy days.
Well, brilliant setup on the car, and the confidence that you exuded definitely showed. And speaking of those first 2 laps, I mean, it was a bit of chaos at the start of the race before we even got 100 meters. Where did you find yourself in all of that?
What happened was Mark and Nathan were 1 row up and over in what would be the inside line for turn 1. So because Nathan and I had done the LMP2 race Saturday, and I had done an official for Sebring early in the week, I already knew be very alert to the start. And what really reinforced it was the prologue yesterday. Stay tuned for that, by the way, folks, on Monday. So because of that, I knew to be very conservative. And I also knew that the track was going to be very greasy, very fast. In our computer projections, we had, after 20 minutes, the rubber state was 78%. At the end, it was 96. Sebring is very much a one-line circuit when one thinks about it. So conservative, being smart, like I said, he commented he drove the smartest, had the fuel strategy. Hang on. That's exactly the strategy I had, and it paid off.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's brilliant how you and the team were really able to think about it from the sort of data view there and the grip levels of the circuit and that single line nature. And towards the end, at what point did you realise that you would be on course for third place? Because, of course, before the pit stops, we did have Brian Beardsworth coming quite early, but it was a slow pit stop for him that relegated him out of a chance to a podium and promoted yourself and also none other than what was Marcus Clayton into that fight for the third place spot.
So I was asking with about 25 minutes left. It was either right before or right after the pit stop. I think it was right before. I said, guys, I still think I'm in fourth. I'm really happy because I was aiming for a top 5 in Evo. I thought I was achievable from where I was. And Nathan said, no, Dwayne, you're on the podium. And that did 2 things for me. First, it reminded me of what some wise people said to me in week 13, and that was, Gyro, you need to be in the moment. Regardless of what happens, be in the moment. You'll stop making unforced errors. And in SRI GT3, I felt I made too many unforced errors last season. So that was the piece of counsel that I've really held on to this season. The other part of it was knowing that Marcus and I, we battled for about the last half hour. It was pure racing. And that's always a joy in itself. And I knew I needed a second and a half to come down the lane and do what I need to do, knowing I have saved an entire lap of fuel just by being cautious. And right when I came in, it was exactly a second and a half. When I came out, went back around, Marcus had a very similar in-lap, out-lap, and it was gap was 1.7. And now it was just a race. It's just all you want. And he had no traffic issues and all that. Exactly what you would want trying to get to a podium.
Or indeed, a perfectly managed run to a podium, and in the end, securing that first podium in your SimRacing International Series career. I do have to ask, what's next? Can we expect a repeat of Imola in a week's time?
Well, as you know, it's a 90-minute race at Imola. We have a very good setup. The M8 chews the curbs, which is pivotal at Imola. However, Paul, it is going to be very much a crapshoot. Just because of the nature of sectors 1 and 2 at Imola. And so, yes, there is already a strategy made. No, we will not tell you what it is. We have to keep some secrets. But we do have something in mind to get all 3 of our liveried cars, which, folks, I'm just going to tell you right now, we have the best looking cars on the grid. And that's the plan, is we're going to execute our strategy, get one of our cars up, we race as a team. It's always been that way, and we're going to keep doing that going forward.
Oh, I love it. And Will, I can tell you one thing, you've already got my appetite absolutely whetted for seeing what's to play at Imola for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. But Dwayne, just as we get ready to let you go, is there anywhere you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast today?
Well, obviously, thank you to my teammates. Obviously, team principal Paul Webster, he's working hard right now at Mercedes Petronas Formula One, building things. But also want to give a special shout out to our sister team is in the chat, Felinity V Racing. And tomorrow, the 2 teams have 18 hours of endurance racing collectively. So it's going to be one of those longest day things. And lastly, most importantly for me specifically, gratitude and thanks to God gives me breath and gives me life. So we're really looking forward to Imola. It's going to be wild, folks. Stay tuned. If you thought Sebring was interesting, yeah, grab your calzone and your tortellini. You're going to need it for Imola.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Dwayne, we couldn't ask for a bigger tee up to next round, and we look forward to seeing yourself and the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport team there gunning for podiums, if not wins, in the Evo class. But until then, have a great rest of your day. Congratulations on the podium once again, and thank you for joining me in the interview room.
Thank you, Paul.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from a very happy Dwayne Hoffman. A bit of an emotional one as well with regards to taking that first podium in his SimRacing International career. But I do love the way he really broke it down and talked about the fact that the team have gone for the BMW MX. They want to go with the underappreciated car, or the less popular car, we could also say. But with that, they've really picked a car that is going to go strong. And we saw that here today. It's not a qualifying car. It is a race-pace car. And the team have really crunched the data. They crunched the numbers. And that's exactly what Dwayne Hoffman went through today. For one thing only, which is stay to the strategy, race in the moment, and by doing so, in then taking third place. His first podium in the SimRacing International Championship, and a very happy one at that, and saying if that's to go at Imola, well, if that's going to be the way it's gone at Sebring, then wait for Imola, because of course, he was able to survive with his two teammates of Mark Kent and Nathan Healy did not today, sadly, due to what happened on the opening laps. But can you imagine if we do get all three of the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport cars on the podium in Evo next time out? It'll be absolutely pandemonium, ladies and gentlemen, but that's what they're targeting, and we look forward to seeing them try. But with that, that concludes our interviews for today, and let's give you a recap of who we've spoken to. And as we can see, we've had 4 interviews, and there's been a recurring theme here, which has been a mixture of Pro and Evo class drivers, but also winners and podium finishers, whereby we start off by speaking to our Pro class and overall winner today, of Philip Ansell for GTE Motorsport, and indeed brilliant to hear the story behind his win, and also the story behind him, the team, and the choice of car. We then came to the Evo class winner of James Bostock for GPX Simsport, finally taking that class win that eluded him so many times back in Season 1, and he was absolutely proud as punch with that. And then we came to your runner-up in the Pro class of Wilson Liu for We Pay 300 Esports. Happy with his qualifying time, but even happier with his race result, although admitting the fact he was enjoying the battle with Tom Bland, and in the end it was the difference of a penalty that gave him the chance to take that second place. And then we just spoke to Dwayne Hoffman for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport in the Evo class, taking at that third place there, his first SimRacing International podium in any championship he's raced in here with us, and we're enjoying it there and putting it all down to the data and strategy and getting it absolutely right with the smart choices there, whilst others weren't quite as intelligent with their approach to the race. But a well done to all 4 of them for their race performances today, and a big thank you to them all for joining me in the interview room, and I'm certain we're going to get plenty more interviews as the season goes on, ladies and gentlemen, from drivers up and down the field, and we definitely would want to hear from some of our Inter drivers next time out, because we were missing that class day in the interview room. But with that, it's now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about how you can be on the grid at SimRacing International, and indeed what series we're going on, well, use the link at the bottom of your screen. That SimRacing International Discord link there. It's the beating heart of the community, and indeed, if you want to be on the grid with us or just get to know us, it's the best way to get in touch. And when you join the Discord, well, you may be able to join any one of the following series. Of course, we do have on Thursday evenings a whole new season, Season 12 of our Thursday GT3 Championship with the Masters and Superstars categories. However, if you're looking for GTE racing action, indeed it's on Fridays, you've been tuning to season 2 around the one today. We do have that every Friday evening. It's fully sold out at the moment, but indeed there could be some spaces later on should drivers withdraw, and there is a waiting list. We should say there's a waiting list on all of our series currently, so if you do want to get on the grid later on the season, get yourself subscribed to the waiting list. But if you're more of a GT3 fan, but you're a weekend racer, we do have the upcoming Season 18 of the Sunday Showdown, as it's been retitled to, with a whole new set of rules there to keep things absolutely exciting and entertaining, and that's due to get underway in only a week's time. But if you're looking for something far more casual, perhaps you're looking for something free to join because you want to build up your experience, perhaps you're a rookie, well, we do have a Practice League, which runs 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. It's never been a busier time at SimRacing International, and it's never been a better time to get on the grid, whether you're a rookie all the way through to an esports professional. But with that, we also want to say a big thank you to our series and league sponsors, who do include Carmate, Modern Technology, the GP2 Group, and also, of course, we'd like to say a big thank you to Motorsport UK's esports division for recognising us here at SimRacing International as a recommended community, and long may that continue throughout 2026 and beyond. But with that, Sebring is down for the count. So what's up next, I hear you ask? Well, round number 2 sees us make our way to Italy in a week's time, and it will be at the Imola circuit on 9 and 4 as the Autodromo International Enzo Dino Ferrari. We have the first of 3 90-minute endurance race rounds. And here today, what exactly did we get to see? Well, in the Pro class, Philip Ansell set the pace, no doubt about it, although Isaac Fairweather unfortunately not making it to the grid, and therefore we never got to see where it could be a 1-2 for GTE Motorsport. And elsewhere in the Interclass, where it was close, but in the end we got to see the Lithuanian driver of none other And then what was Vidas Andruskevicius take victory just ahead of Jan Lins and John Champlin in a freeway fight for victory. And as for Evo, James Bostock took the win in the end by surviving a terrifically terrifying opening lap and then not putting a foot wrong. But there are many of his rivals who will definitely be looking to bounce back, including Full Tilt Motorsports pair of Mark Kent and also Nathan Healy. And they're just two of many a name who definitely saw their races spoiled before they could truly get underway. So come join us live from Circuit Side on Friday the 3rd of April 2026 as we pick up the next chapter in the story. But until then, we've been SimRacing International. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, and until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, have an absolutely brilliant weekend ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.